And we're live. Do you guys hear me? Actually, I didn't even test my mic. Hello. If y'all hear me, please let me know. Otherwise, this is going to be really awkward. I'm like watching myself on my phone. Okay, let's go. It's working. It's working. And I'm back. Oh, wow. That was a long trip in California, but it's good to kind of take a break from YouTube, watch other people's content, comment on it, and just show some support and love. But it's now time to get back on the grind. But it's a Friday, so we're all relaxing, just enjoying our time, and just saying hi to everyone. How's everyone doing? How's everyone's week? What up, Dan? What up? What up? Also, if you didn't know, your boy got a perm. What do you guys think? Do you guys like this better, or not? It's a tech coding channel, but hey, Mama Lee did this for me, so you know what? Gotta show her some love. She spiced it up a little bit for me. What up? What up? What up? No topics for today, but I'm just good to hang out with everyone here, answer some questions. We're going to be talking about, what am I talking about today? I don't even know. Let's just talk about coding. Let's talk about what kind of projects you're into, what kind of questions you might have. Let's dive deep and answer anything that can help you find a job, anything that's troubling you. Let me know. What up, Big Purr? Let's go. You know how it is. It's actually kind of nice now. Like, I don't really have to do my hair, and it just kind of looks like this. So I'm sure the perm will die down eventually. Oh, I don't know. I mean, if you guys didn't see my last video, but your boy is monetized now. So, you know, I'm kind of like pretty hot stuff now. Getting like $2 a day. Making those big bucks off YouTube. AdSense, baby. But no, really appreciate everyone that's been watching my content. That it was really a big goal of mine to be able to hit those 4,000 watch hours. And man, that was so hard because I think I was making like 2 videos per week. And I was going on live and just doing all that. But regardless, you know, it's not that much money or anything like that, but it's kind of how do I describe this? It was a goal of mine to hit, and I hit it. So I'm very proud of my accomplishment. Really appreciate the support, and yeah, it's good. Yeah, $2. It's okay. You know what? Baby steps. Everything takes time. So it is what it is. $2. Dana, how are you doing? How's your coding journey going? I want to know. Let me know. Give me updates. I'm curious. Play button coming soon. I don't know. We'll see. Just we're a few subscribers away from that, right? Nope, not at all. Man, this week has been super rough though. I've just been working a lot, been pretty busy with just all the projects I've been working on. So I'm trying to figure out how to better balance my time with YouTube and work, and trying to figure out ways to help people find a job. So I've been brainstorming a lot in my head. And also, I mean, funny enough, I've been looking into Shopify as well, because Cody Face has been talking about it so much, and all he does is talk about it, and I just can't get it out of my head. So now I'm curious, and I have to look at it now. Ugh. We'll see what happens there. I'm just so busy, man. It's just, I think one thing I learned about, just if I could give you any advice. Oh, hey, here. Yo, bro, new to your channel, but love you. Starting my road to AWS Solutions Architect. Hey, good luck with that. I am a front-end developer at Amazon, but I've been learning so much AWS stuff these past few months. It's been great. Honestly, it's something that I never knew even before going in, and somehow I stumbled on this project where it's like I have to use all the AWS structures, and I'm just, man, I've grown so much in these past 2 months than like my past 2 years, probably at my last job. So, oh, but actually, I was trying to find this one. Advice you would give your 20-year-old self: you gotta value your time, man. Like, no matter how much money you make or anything, like, you can never get back your time. So use your time wisely. I do have some, it's not regrets, but I wish I could have done certain things a little bit sooner. You get complacent and comfortable, and sometimes you don't hit your potential because life is good, right? And you don't want things to change. But sometimes you don't realize how miserable or how unhappy you are if you don't, like, because you're too afraid to take risks. And in some regards, I kind of wish I like did coding a little bit earlier, and I kind of wish I started looking for other jobs earlier. But at the end of the day, it's kind of something I like to think that things happen for a reason. So you got to really value your time, because, man, time flies so fast. And if sometimes you could like blink, and then all of a sudden 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, 10 years just flies, man. Monetization. Oh, I really appreciate that. Thank you, Dana. I mean, you've been there since I had probably like 200, 300 subs probably. And now your boy's at, I don't even know, like 2,300 something. So not bad. I mean, if anything, it shows that if you're consistent with what you do, and if you enjoy it and you want to make it a priority, then look what can happen, right? It's not just coding, but with YouTube, anything that you just put your mind to, and if it's important to you, then I mean, it's inevitable that some good things should happen, right? So how old was I when I started learning how to code? I think 25-ish. Yeah, I think that was around there. I was around 25 when I started learning like Android development, which was such a dumb idea in retrospect, because I had no idea what I was doing. It's just copy paste, and then see what happens. Yeah. Thank you, citizen Lou. Do you use React.js? Yeah, we use React.js. We use a lot of different technologies. It really depends on your team. Some teams, they'll use Vue. Some teams, they'll use React. It just depends. Some teams use Java. It's pretty crazy. A lot of smart people there, so they kind of choose what they will prefer. I'm almost done with my React Next.js project. Do I have a decent chance of applying for jobs with one project? I think so. I know some people, they talk about like you have to have 3, 4, 5, 20 projects or something, but I'm a huge believer of just do it and then see what happens. And if you get the feedback telling you that you don't have enough projects, then maybe you should build more projects. But if you spend all this time just building projects and saying, I'm not ready, what if I told you that, that time you spent 3 and 4 months building that second project, you could have already had a job by just using one project, right? You just never know. And there is no like secret recipe to landing a job. Yes, there are some kind of standards of having something to showcase yourself, but the number, it's always going to be a different opinion in my like, I've seen other YouTubers suggest different things. I've seen other people suggest different things. So I don't think there's a real good answer to that. For me, I say one project, start applying. And if they actually give you feedback and tell you, hey, you don't have enough projects, then at least you know, right? But if you can get a job with one project, why not, right? Because what's ultimately the most important thing is you want to get good as a software developer, and the best way you could get better is to work with other professional software developers that have more experience than you. So like, I just think you're just losing out by wasting more time. I don't want to say wasting more time, but investing more time just doing a second project, and you don't even take a chance to start applying. I would say do both. Start applying after your first project, and while you're doing that, you could kind of spend some other time just working on your second project. Try, like, it doesn't have to be so like linear, right? You could do things in parallel, and if you get that first job, you're going to be like, wow, like, thank goodness I didn't spend 3-4 months or 5 months before I started applying for my first job. So hopefully that helped, and that made sense. And yeah, that's just my opinion, and I really believe in that one. I love just iterating. I love iterating. So I don't like going for the home runs. I like being able to take baby steps to get to where I am. So that's just kind of how I operate. And that's the kind of advice I give to a lot of the people I coach. Jacksonville. Oh. Interesting. Are you interested? Let's see. Show. What was I missing here? Ooh. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like, since there is no real one solution that can guarantee you to get a job, I can see how it could be information overload. So just be careful who you get advice from, because you just never know. Like, they might steer you down the wrong path. This might be a person that just has a lot of experience and doesn't really understand, like, oh, as a junior developer, what struggles are you going through that's so different from what an experienced developer will go through, right? So it is really important to make sure who you're getting advice from, and they actually empathize with you and understand that they're not on equal footing if it's an experienced developer giving you that advice. So it's really good to just be asking, like, oh, if you were in my shoes, what would you be doing? Go for it. I mean, I actually didn't really consider FANG when I was looking for my next job, but somehow, it just stumbled upon my lap, and I got an interview, and then another interview, and then more interviews, and then I got the job. And I'm not gonna brag about, oh wow, I got FANG, like I'm awesome, because I got rejected by a lot of different companies too. So it really is a bit of luck involved with any job. So I need to stop saying so, but it really is a bit of luck with any job. And that's why I think it's really important to just iterate and learn from, your interview mistakes and see what you can do better. There are a lot of times where I felt like I was not prepared for my interviews, and I was a little kind of arrogant in my interview process in the beginning, and I got humbled really, really quickly, and I just didn't really prepare properly. I didn't have my stories set. I didn't really kind of organize my thoughts of, like, oh, if I'm going through an interview process, I need to talk about this, I need to talk about that. And when I do a technical interview, I need to make sure I read the question. I make sure to talk about any questions that I might have regarding the prompt, and then just kind of operating in some kind of system. So a lot of my first couple interviews when I was working at my past job, yeah, those didn't go too well. And then eventually, they say save the best for last. So if there's a company that you kind of really, really want to do, then I would save that for later and practice with some of the companies that you don't want to do, because then you'll be able to, like, identify the mistakes. Yeah. And you know what, David, I'll be honest with you. You're probably going to get a few rejections. Hopefully not, but you generally that happens. But just take that as a learning opportunity, right? Talk to the interviewer or the hiring recruiter or whatever. And if you do get rejected, say, like, hey, what could I have done better here? Like, what were some of the mistakes I made, or what were some areas of improvement that I can do for future interviews? And you know what? I did that when I got rejected from a few different companies, and it helped me immensely get to my future employers. So definitely try to get that feedback, because feedback is so important here. Otherwise, you might be just doing the same thing over and over and over again, and you'll kind of be like really like pulling your hair, asking, why am I not getting this job, right? So definitely apply, and just have some thick skin is what I'd recommend here. You shared a lot about how your previous roles allowed you the responsibility for some key projects on the job. Does org size become a factor for junior trying to land their first role? It does. I I wouldn't recommend a junior developer to be the only developer of your company, because that's just the recipe for disaster. I just don't understand how a company can rely solely on a junior developer to build out their whole entire system. With that being said, yeah, you like, the smaller the team, the more opportunities that you're going to have, and if you have a good team, you're going to have good mentorship and someone that's going to coach you in the beginning and eventually kind of give you more and more responsibilities as they feel comfortable. But not all companies are like that. Sometimes they just throw you into the fire and tell you to figure it out. And those are the type of environments I wouldn't recommend, or I wouldn't want to have for any of the junior developers under me. But it is what it is. And like, you can't control that kind of that company culture sometimes, and it does suck, I have to say. But the best companies that I've noticed are ones that really encourage pair programming and whatnot, especially for someone that's coming out of a boot camp. For me, what really helped me go from boot camp graduate to a somewhat successful developer, even in the first 2 years, was that I kind of treated my first 2 years like another boot camp. So I worked a lot of hours, not because I was so dedicated to the company or anything like that. It was just, I just wanted to get better as a developer, because I ultimately wanted to become more appealing to other employers that were willing to pay me more. So what really helped me during that first job was so much pair programming, to the point that you're just kind of stealing information from your senior dev in some ways. Like, it's kind of like a cheat code. You're like, oh, so this is how he or she does it. And I totally wouldn't have done that if I was just literally staring at my screen for the past 15 hours and they just were able to just hack something in the past 5 minutes, right? So it's being able to pair with a senior developer, and the frequency of pairing really helped me just jumpstart my career. I got really lucky from that perspective. So if there are opportunities where you could work with senior developers, I would highly recommend that. And hopefully there is a lot more mentorship behind it, because working in isolation is not ideal for someone that's coming out of a boot camp or even just like a new junior developer. What up? What up? What up? What up? Hey, hey, hey. It is what it is at the end of the day. It is what it is. Man, I was in Seattle like a few weeks ago, and it was so hot. I could not believe how hot it was. It was like 90 degrees, 100 degrees. And apparently in Seattle, you don't have air conditioner, which makes no sense to me. But apparently it does make sense, because it never gets that hot. Like, what are the chances the day I go, it's like a heat wave? Oh man, it was rough. But overall, I really like Seattle. It would be somewhere I would love to move to, but for now, New York is my home. What resource did you use to apply to jobs? I used AngelList. I used Hire.com, and I think that's it. I think that's all I used. And then I talked to recruiters. There were like a laundry list of recruiters that messaged me in the past 5 years I was working at my last company. So I just kind of pulled up my little Rolodex and then just messaged them saying like, hey, I'm available for hire or for interviews. And they just gave me a lot of options. What up, man? What up, Corey? Would you mentor a junior dev? Um, yeah, I mean, why not? But I think for me right now, I'm so busy, so I can't do like free mentorship in some regards. I do have like a coaching service, and I put that in like air quotes because it's $50 an hour. And it's not because I really need $50. What I noticed is that people that are really serious about this are willing to kind of invest in themselves. And it's not even that much. It's literally a small paywall to just kind of filter out the people that just are kind of casually looking. And remember, my first advice, I don't know if you're in the beginning of the video, is like you have to value your time. And time is so valuable here. Like as much as I want to help everyone individually, and it was something that I could do when I had about like 200 subscribers. But these days with full-time work, YouTube channel, and trying to do some other stuff with TechRally, it's more, I need to know that you're serious about it. And I've had people sign up for it. And look, I'm not a salesman by any means, so I'm never gonna be like, all right, so like when do you want to do your next session or whatever. It's what I'm trying to do here is just help guide you on your path and kind of steer you the right way. And then after that, I'm just saying, hey, if you want to talk again, feel free to, but no pressure. I've had to just kind of say no to these like one-on-one conversations because it's just too much. And but like I say, if you want to like talk to me or in a kind of like a larger capacity, you could do this, or you can join my Discord and we can have conversations there. So hopefully that helps, and hopefully you understand. Mr. Directive is in the house. What the DevOps? Did you change your name, Sid, on your YouTube channel? DevOps Direct. I like it. It sounds very official. Like, oh, I gotta respect this man now. In what context? In person, virtually, using what tech? Some people use Zoom. For me, it was very different. It was one of those unique instances where I was in front of a monitor, another person, my senior dev, was in front of his monitor, and then we would connect our keyboards to like one laptop, and then we would just pair that way. So we were kind of just mirroring the same screen, and then we just kind of worked. It was really cool. I liked it a lot. I learned a lot. But with virtual, I think you're gonna have to do like a lot of Zoom pairing sessions. And I'll be honest, like as a more experienced developer, pairing is so exhausting because I didn't realize how much I had to talk during pairing to explain how things are working. And sometimes it's just like I want to be nice, and that's why I have to hold my tongue a little bit, because sometimes these are what feels like simple concepts to me may not be simple concepts to that junior developer, right? So there are a lot of times where I have to like hold myself back and make sure like, hey, like how do I acknowledge that this person is trying but still struggling, and like how do I guide that person to kind of get to that solution rather than just kind of doing it for them. And when you have a good mentor or like a senior developer, they're not going to just spoon feed you the answer because they want to get it over with. They're going to help you go through that struggle and debug and have that patience with you, and that's super important. Is working at Amazon stressful and challenging, or it's not? And how's the work-life balance? Yeah, I mean, I think Amazon is challenging. A lot of smart people at Amazon. And what I would say about my experience so far, it's been really good. Everyone has been very, very nice. And that's really important to me, because if you are just toxic or a person that is so like unapproachable, then that really puts me in a bad mood, because I want to help as many people as I can. And what I found at Amazon is like, yeah, it's a lot of work and it's very challenging, but the people I work with, at least in my team, have been very helpful and very encouraging and, very smart. And sometimes there are those people that are smart but very toxic, and there's people that are very nice but they may not have those technical chops. But here it's one of those right balances of being both smart and nice, which I really love. And is it really stressful? For me right now, it is somewhat stressful because I'm in kind of unfamiliar territory where, as a front end developer, I think like Sid knows that I'm doing a bunch of like AWS stuff, and that's not something that I had done in my last job. I was doing mostly like Webpack and front end development and React and JavaScript. And somehow I got kind of put on this project where I have to really, really know my AWS. And as someone that had very zero knowledge with it, that was a struggle. But no complaints there because it's such a good skill to learn, and and I'm getting paid for it. So what's the big deal here, right? I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah, man. It's crazy. I'm like, it just mind boggles me how hard it was that thing. The coding after 30. Oh, hey, man. Paul's a good guy. It's always been that. Really? Man. That's how you know I've been out of the YouTube game. Infinite. I don't even know what that is, man. See, he knows more about AWS than I do. Yeah, I mean, that could be cool. I just don't know. Before I take money like that, and that is a lot of money, 800 a month. I would have to make sure, hey, will this really help people? Because I don't want to just take people's money for provide like no value. I'm thinking about doing something that's more on the free side, but not courses. But it's like one of those weird things, like paving it forward kind of mentality, where it's like if I mentor one person or two people, then you must agree to mentor one or two people for free. And then you just keep kind of like this trickling down effect, but kind of like what is it called? A pyramid scheme, but it's free. So like no one actually makes money. And I think that would be kind of cool, where you have to like sign this contract saying like, if you get a job and whatever, and you must mentor one or two people, and then they must like sign that commitment as well, kind of thing. I think that would be kind of cool. I mean, no money involved or anything like that. It's just like a more of like a pave it forward kind of thing. We'll see. I tried reaching out to someone, got ignored. What do you recommend? Can I ask you what you did? Like, how did you reach out to them? I think that's kind of important as well. What I found, actually, I'm not sure how effective it is now as much, but what I found was that I was able to connect to a lot of recruiters through Clubhouse. And it's because through Clubhouse, it was such an organic way to meet people. And they still do have those technical recruiter rooms and say like, hey, if you message them on LinkedIn afterwards, you could say, hey, we talked on Clubhouse. I would love to connect because I really valued your opinion about optimizing your resume and all of those things. So being able to kind of find some kind of connection or some kind of commonality is really important here. So if you're just saying like, hey, I just want this job, blah, 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 then of course they're going to ignore you. So you got to kind of have to make it somewhat personable if you can. And that would be my recommendation. That was good. Man, I'm so deep into my work that sometimes I'm like, I don't even know what the heck Twitter is so crazy sometimes. And Sid, have you been using the Twitter Spaces still? I don't think I've seen you on Twitter as much. But you did hit over 1,000 followers, which I'm very jealous of because I only have like 600. Teach me your ways. That's what I want. A challenging career. Get your foot in the door is rough, especially married with children. Yeah. I talk about this in one of my videos, like the too old to code. And I don't think it's, I mean, age is always important too, but it's always kind of the circumstances. If you have, who knows what, like a lot of debt, you have kids, all these things, like maybe coding shouldn't be a priority, right? Like maybe what should be a priority is taking care of your family first. But if coding is a way to take care of your family for the future, then you got to weigh those pros and cons. But I totally get it. Your time is going to be taken away. So how you spend whatever the 3-4 hours that you have during the day to yourself, how do you want to spend that? Do you want to spend it taking care of yourself, going to the gym? Do you want to do it learning how to code? That's super important. Like you only have 24 hours in a day, like how you spend it. And you're going to be probably sleeping 6 hours. So you have, what's 24 divided by 6? 4. So yeah, the next thing you know, it's like the split is so bad, right? Like you spend so much time sleeping already, and then you have to go to work, kind of like lose like half your day already. What are you gonna do with the rest of the half, right? That's super important. You know any self-taught developers? What did they do to get their first job? Yeah, there's a lot of self-taught developers. Have you seen my video with Dorian? Dorian, he has a YouTube channel as well, way bigger than mine. He hustled. Like there's no other way to say it. He hustled. He was working in Las Vegas. He was a valet driver or something like that, working night shift, and during the day he would learn how to code. And he would go to meetups. He would do networking. You have to put in the work, man. You can't. There's no other way around it, especially for self-taught developers. Try to reach out to your local area and see if there are coders out there that you can connect with, right? A lot of these advice sounds very generic, but it's most of the time people don't even do it. So I think you have to treat your coding journey like a career, and your own personal career growth, right? And if you don't make plans to be like, why am I learning how to code? Am I just learning how to code for the sake of learning how to code? No, right? You're learning how to code because you want to get a job, right? Let's connect the dots, right? Learning how to code, job. Learning how to code, job. How do I get from here to here? Like if you're like, oh, I want to learn how to code, and then you're like learning JavaScript, and then you're like, oh, I'm making some progress, and you're like, oh, but someone told me to learn Python, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then I'm like, oh, but now I need to know like Docker and Kubernetes, even though I don't know what the heck that is. Like you're just kind of like going like here to here, here. Like you just gotta go like this, right? So there is a path to it, and there are a lot of things that people give recommendations for, like sticking with one language, getting good with one language. So you're like, now you get past all of that noise of, should I learn Python? Should I learn PHP? Should I learn blah, 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 any other language that died like 2 years ago or whatever? And then you're like, okay, now that I learned JavaScript, what do I need to do? I need to know HTML, CSS. Okay, like you now make some incremental steps this way. And then you go, okay, now that I know HTML, CSS, JavaScript, like I think I could build a project number 1. Okay, I'm getting closer and closer. Okay, now I need to start networking. So maybe you're like kind of diverging a little bit like this, because you have to reach out to people within the industry. So this is where like networking comes in. So ultimately, you just trying to find a way to get to the straight line as much as possible. But sometimes with all the noise that's out there, it can get chaotic, and there's like information overload. So ultimately, what's really important here is like, learn how to code, find a job. How do I get from here to here? Everything else doesn't really matter. So might be a bad bad illustration, but hopefully you guys got the gist of what I'm trying to say. Where can I sign up for that mentorship? I've been self-teaching and struggling a bit to finish my portfolio. So I mean, I do have a Calendly for like the paid service, but if you don't want to do that, just join my Discord, and I think there are people that will respond to like technical questions. I have people like DJ Norris and some other developers that have helped out here and there. So If money's a little tight, then go definitely use that Discord server. I know Paul from Coding After 30 is super awesome, and he's always pretty active. That reach out to him as well. He's a good guy, and he is always willing to help. Not as much to Twitter Spaces. What have you been up to? I'm very curious. What's the next project in the horizon? Thank you. I appreciate that. We were missing you. Joel, how are you doing, man? How are you doing? I want some updates with you. Joel's one of the peeps that I do the one-on-one coaching with, and he is amazing. I know that he's gonna find the job soon because, dang, Joel, you're definitely on top of it. Even from the first meeting, I was pretty impressed, and I think we just need to like tinker a few things here and there, and I know you'll be able to find that job. So like I want to know what the status of your projects are. I want to see if we can do some interview prep for you as well. I know you were talking to some recruiters. Yeah, give me some updates, man. Yeah, I mean, there's virtual meetups too, right? So try to do both. I mean, like, yeah, of course you want to do in person, but just because it doesn't cater to what you want to do, are you gonna just give up? Like, there's so many things that I didn't want to do, even with this YouTube channel, man. Like, I don't want to make 2 videos per week. I don't want to do that. Oh, it's so much freaking work, right? Editing. I really hate Adobe Premiere Pro. But do I do it? Do I make excuses? No. Stop making excuses. Just go. Like, do the virtual networking. Sign up for Polywork. Find ways to network. Join Clubhouse, right? Anything, man. Just anything. Like, I don't know how to. Sometimes I feel like I'm beating like what do you call it? Beating a dead horse or whatever. But you gotta do the uncomfortable. You gotta be okay with being uncomfortable. Otherwise, like, how do you expect to stand out, right? Do things that people aren't willing to do, and then you'll find a job. No, not at all. People still need to use web apps one way or the other. I mean, there's still a place and a time and place for native applications, but you still need some kind of like back office application to manage different things and whatnot. And every company is going to have some kind of like data storage, or what do they call it, with data warehousing, and like see it in a nice UI for their customers. So, and you can't really do that on your phone. I think native apps is growing is a good thing, and there's just going to be more variations. If anything, a web developer can learn native app development as well. Like, it's just coding at the end of the day. Ooh, Mr. Gunderman is in the house. What should my next video be? Help. Ooh, I got an idea. Maybe like learning React development in 7 days, drinking every day, or something like that. And then you progressively drink 1 more beer that day. So by the 7th, say you start off with 1, and then 2, and then 4, and then just keep going higher and higher for 7 days. And then boom, let's see what your React application looks like. Got you. Can you give me 3 main projects to use in my portfolio for a front-end development app? Yeah, I mean, I kind of talk about this in my front-end developer roadmap as well. You could just leverage a current API that exists. The thing is, with front-end development, if you don't know back-end development, you're kind of limited to like public APIs, right? So you could create like a shopping application that's kind of similar to like you buying clothes or whatever, but you're not going to be able to save anything. And then I was talking about like using like the Pokemon API, and then just making it really, really nice and pretty, or like the Star Wars API. I think what you're trying to do here is trying to really show your front end skills. But if I could recommend it, like try to learn some back end development, at least a little bit, where you could have some type of authentication, at least 2 or 3 models that kind of talk to each other, and then you could just kind of put more emphasis on the front end to just kind of highlight your project. Terraform, DevOps, office hours, live stream, and some longer form. Too much. You gotta use CDK, bro. CDK is the way to go. It's the future. Trust me. I work at Amazon. I drank for 7 days straight. Ended up in the. But you gotta say like learning React at the end. Otherwise, the algorithm won't pick you up, right? Hey, oh shoot, hologram. What's up, man? It's been a while. Do you see yourself transitioning back in? It's been calling to me lately more than front end. Hey, man, do what makes you happy. I've been really liking AWS a lot, and it is somewhat back endy, but I guess it's more infrastructure stuff. But I don't know. I still really like front end development a lot, and I would like to get more deeper into front end development and figure out ways to optimize even more on front end development. At the same time, it was getting a little boring at my last company being a front end developer because I wasn't really innovating, right? And that becomes a huge problem because now when you're somewhat experienced in anything, right, you're doing a lot more for very little gain, and you're trying to see like, is this worth learning? So I feel like backend development could be good for you because maybe it's something fresh, something new, and you'll be a better full stack developer, right? So definitely go for it. I've been embracing my opportunity to learn a lot of AWS stuff, and it's just been really good for it's gonna be good for me, it's gonna be good for my career, and I could always talk about it. I'm kind of burnt on making advice videos. Do you make advice videos? I'm just kidding. Yeah, man, that's why I took a break. I took a break for 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. Sometimes these live streams are so much easier because you're just talking in front of a camera, and that's it. Doesn't sound. Oops. It just doesn't sound fun to me. I may be lagging. All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, dude, I would say you're one of the more creative, like, coding channels that's out there, right? In terms of like the cinematography, the lighting, the camera, and all of that stuff. Why not kind of lean into that and then make videos about what you want to do? What's holding you back? Do you feel like your niche is already in the coding space, so you can't like you can't pivot? I think you can pivot. I would say a lot of the people that watch your content, yeah, like they come in for the coding stuff, but I would say they mostly come in for you and like your like cinematography chops. For me, it's a lot of like, yeah, sometimes I get the same feeling. It's kind of like, how much more advice can I give, right, to my subscribers or people watching this video? It's like, dude, just start. Just literally just start. I don't know what else to tell you. Like people have a hard time just literally just starting, and that's kind of the. And I keep saying the same thing over and over again because that's the only advice I can really give that makes sense. Everything I want to say is probably already out there. Yeah, exactly. But you know what's crazy? Even though it's out there, yeah, people don't act on it. Or sometimes the advice is really bad. And when you hear bad advice, that's when I feel like I have this calling to kind of provide my input. It's tough though. It's tough. Like, I do want to kind of talk about different things here and there. And the last thing I want to do is build a coding tutorial video. So yeah, sometimes I am conflicted myself of what other advice can I give. I made like a front end developer roadmap. Yeah, who knows? I think I do a lot of brainstorming in my head and like on my wall as well to see how much more can I benefit the people listening to my channel. But it's kind of, sometimes you wonder, it's like, is that really good advice, or am I just making content for the sake of making content? Oh man, the struggle of a content creator, right? What up? Hey man, good 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 avatar. Have you checked out GitHub Copilot? Nope. I've heard about it, and I made like a little short. That's me experimenting. That's me experimenting Kenny Gunderman style. I don't think GitHub Copilot is gonna take over software developer jobs or anything like that. It's, if anything, it's just gonna be a good assistance, which is what a Copilot is supposed to do. But no, you're fine. And we answered all of our questions. What do you know? Hey, Kenny, if you want to come on and chat, let me know. Make this happen. It's not just me, man. Even Sid is saying the same thing. Your cinematographer, storytelling is some of the best. And this is not even just comparing to like people in the coding space. I would say you're kind of like the equivalent of, I mean, maybe not as high as like James Janney because he's like really good, but it's kind of up there. It's really up there. You just gotta, once you're able to keep practicing and practicing, I would say, man, if you really wanted to like go in on that kind of investment, you could totally do it. I think you have the easiest pivot compared to all of us. If anything, Sid has the worst pivot. Like he's look at his username, DevOps Direct. It's like, oh, why is this DevOps guy talking about front end coding? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, we could do that too. Yeah, let me know. Message me on Discord. DevOps for life. It's very true. Yo, hey, give me some credit here, Sid. Get your subscribers to come to my channel. You know, like bring them over. Look what I just did for you. Copilot. Yeah, go check out. I just assume that anybody that's on my channel is watching Kenny's channel and watching DevOps. Why do I keep saying DevOps? Was watching Sid's channel. So, but if you're not, definitely subscribe to Sid and Kenny. They're really good content creators, and Sid is really, really, really deep into the whole infrastructure space. And I think if you watch Don the Developer, there was someone asking about Kubernetes and all of those things. So it's pretty good I think it's a good field to get into once you kind of get some experience. So definitely check it out. Which backend should I learn as a junior? Ooh, loaded question, right? Whatever gets you the job? I don't know. It really depends on your area. I personally think if you're gonna like learn JavaScript, then just learn Node. But I don't want to say that as like a blanket statement, because maybe in your area there are a lot of Python, Django developers, and they're looking for those specific fields, do your research. Look, go on Indeed.com, put your neighborhood, and see what happens. Lol. So, guys, be honest. What do you think about the curls? I miss you guys. I miss going live. I was in California for 2 weeks, and I really missed I miss my mic. I miss my camera. I miss being able to just talk to y'all. My Discord felt like a ghost town because I wasn't posting any more videos. I thought you all forgot about me. All right, in some ways, it was. I guess it was good for me too, though. Like, just not when you're like actively doing the same thing over and over again for the past 4 months or 3 months. Maybe it was 3 months of just making content. It sometimes felt so mindless, and I could see what it means by like content burnout or YouTube burnout, and you just feel like you're feeding into the algorithm. But in some ways, I don't care. Like, I think one thing that I would say that differentiates my channel a lot is the whole YouTube AdSense and like being monetized, it had nothing to do with money. It was just being like, oh man, I just want to like do this and get this goal. Because I work full time anyway. Like, the money that I get from here is like nothing, right? This is just something that grew into something more. I was deathly afraid to talk in front of a camera, record it, and post it online. But what do you know? Look at me now. Like, I am talking in front of a camera on live. It's just helped me grow up so much in many different ways outside of just software development. And that's what I am so grateful for about this channel. And that's why I think sometimes like the advice I give is, wow, I'm just like gassing myself up, but it's honest, right? Because I'm in the industry. I work as a software developer. I think here comes my rant, right? One thing I don't like, and maybe it's because I'm on the other side now, working at a company like Amazon, is so many people that haven't worked at those companies. They make these assumptions that like, oh, like when you work at Google, you're gonna be working on a button and that's it. Or like when you work at Amazon, you're gonna be working on some meaningless thing. Then like you're gonna change move the button from left to right, and that's it, and that's your job. Like, no one's gonna pay you like 6 figures to just move a button from left to right. And like, I've been kind of biting my tongue a little bit and not calling those people out, because in some regards, maybe they're right for other companies, but right now I'm learning so much, and it's making me such a better developer. And it's like, oh, I don't want to work at those companies because I feel like I'm working on some very, very small thing that isn't going to make such a big impact. And I'm like, no, that's not true. That's not true at all. You have to kind of be there to make that kind of statement, right? And like, you'll be surprised how much stuff people work on. Like, Amazon wouldn't hire all these developers to work on like meaningless projects. It just doesn't make sense. And I don't know if I'll ever make a video about it. And if someone watches the stream later at the 50-minute mark, you guys could kind of like add that in if you like. But no, I mean, for now, I really feel that I feel like it's a very dangerous statement to make unless you've worked there. That's my 2 cents, and that'll be it. Do you visit? Oh, it's pretty. Actually, yeah, I was in OC. I was in the OC. It wasn't that bad. I mean, compared to New York was so hot. I mean, not was. It's hot. New York is very hot right now compared to OC. I love OC, man. It's such a nice neighborhood. Very sunny, very calm, relaxing. Yeah. Yo, Don the developer. Yo, I really like this picture, man. Where'd you get this? This is really cool. I like it. I like it a lot. All right, guys, we're just gonna keep rolling through the stream. We might be getting some guests here. Let's see. Oh, we're gonna add Sid. Which back? Hey, didn't I answer this, Corey? Pretty sure I answered this. Go rewind a little bit. You got this. Yeah. Oh, hey everyone. The overwhelming 10 people that are here. If you haven't gone to Don's channel and you're interested in coding boot camps or just general advice into getting to software development, I highly recommend you to subscribe to his channel. He is he says that I'm nicer and he's more straightforward, and no, Don's a nice guy. He's a really nice guy, and he'll give you honest feedback. So I think as nice as I am, I try to be as honest as possible too, and that's what I really resonate with a channel like Don's, because he doesn't. It's no sugarcoating it by any means, and that's super important to me because I hate people that do that. So definitely subscribe to his channel. He also does one-on-one coaching, and he gives me like some percentage on the side for, you know, like doing these kind of adverts. No, I'm just kidding. Definitely consider him also for like if you need some guidance, because I think ultimately what's important here is like we got some crazy people with good experience, and a lot of people just don't take advantage of it. So, oh shit, we got Sid. Let's add him to the stream.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well, well.
Thanks for joining on this kind of random Friday night live streaming.
Yeah, my wife was working late, so I was just looking online for something to do.
Did YouTube send you this?
No, when did you get that?
I didn't. I was just trolling.
Oh man, I gotta hit up my contact there and tell them to send me some water bottles.
No, I say I work for two FANG companies now. You know, YouTube and.
Yeah, you need a Microsoft hat to go with it.
Man, what have you been up to these days?
Oh, a bunch of stuff. Yeah, so I'm working on a course about Terraform that I'm going to release to YouTube, hopefully, I don't know, in the next month or so. I started doing a bunch of live streams. So I bring some guest onto my channel, and then together we work on a problem. So usually something infrastructure related or DevOps related. So been working with a few different people. I think the first one I helped a couple deploy a Discord bot to AWS, and then I've been working to Dockerize this application that another gentleman had built. So that's been a lot of fun in terms of sometimes they're more junior, sometimes they're pretty senior, but just building stuff out, getting stuck. People watch us Google stuff for an hour, and then we shut it off and call it a day.
Maybe this is kind of dealing with like levels of development, right? At what point do you feel like there's a certain point where you should start considering like using like AWS or like thinking about your infrastructure more versus someone that's just like starting to learn how to code? Like at what point do you think that someone needs to start really thinking about, I guess, scale and whatnot, right? Like, you know, sometimes you don't want to scale too early because you don't know if your product is legit yet. And, you know, I've seen companies use like Heroku, but then once it starts getting really expensive, that's when they start like thinking like, oh, maybe we should look into other things.
Yeah, I think that's the right approach in terms of build something. And then if your bill starts to become too large because you're using some platform as a service that is causing that, then you can figure out what to do. That's a good problem to have. If you have enough users that you're starting to push the limits of your initial implementation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. How did you get into this? Like, because I don't know too many YouTubers that, I mean, I feel like a lot of times they kind of fall into my realm where like, oh, you're into front end development, or maybe there's like people Dennis Ivey, who's into like Python and Django. It's very, I don't want to say it's simple, but it's simple in a sense that it's like, oh, you build APIs or you build product front ends, right? But not like when did you feel like, oh wow, this infrastructure space is somewhere that is like my jam, and I want to like really focus on this part.
Yeah, I mean, so I studied mechanical engineering, so we have that in common. I was like a research engineer for 5.5 years and transitioned into software after that. And I was in a full stack role, and I just wasn't very good at front end.
Well, that narrows it down.
Right. So I wasn't good at front end, and I was good at back end and infrastructure stuff. And so when I wrapped that role up, I was really enjoying the DevOps portion of what I was doing. And so I decided to just dig in there and started consulting and creating content around DevOps and cloud infrastructure.
How did you get into it? Did you have someone that was a senior developer that was helping you out, or was it just kind of you just diving deep into the documentation and just kind of experimenting as you go?
I mean, the company I joined was a health tech startup. The tech stack was primarily a Node.js app with a React front end. There were a bunch of Python microservices around it, deployed into Kubernetes on GCP. And so probably for my first 8 months, most of the second half of what I just said, it was a black box and I had no idea what was going on. I would just run the make target to build my image. And if it didn't work, I might clear my cache and try again. But slowly you encounter enough situations where you need to look under the hood and see what's actually going on, that I learned a little bit. And then the person on the team who was managing a lot of that ended up leaving and going off to another role. And so someone needed to step up to take it over. And so I worked with him very closely in his final weeks to ramp up on all the systems. And so that helped to give me a much stronger base to build off of. But yeah, it's a lot of reading the documentation, some working with other developers, and then some just trial by fire of you figure it out when you have to.
Yeah, I love it. I think one of the hard things about about doing something like AWS in the beginning was I just didn't know anything. So it just felt like what you described, like the black box. And sometimes I was questioning myself, like, why did they hire me for this? Right. But in some regards, I definitely took it like as an opportunity. And, you kind of become very, very familiar with it. At a certain point, you're like, okay, I know what I'm looking for. Like, I know like Lambdas connect with, or like CloudFront connects with like S3, and like it's just like there's these patterns that you start to recognize, and like how do you block access to certain content. It's just like all of these things start clicking, but in the beginning it just feels so overwhelming, especially because even with like AWS, when you go on the site,
it's like 175 services.
You're like, what the heck?
Yeah, I think it's almost 200 services by now.
Yeah, it's insane.
But you only really, most of the time you need like 10. And then once you really have a specific need, maybe you need to explore that special service that is really addressed at that particular use case.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man. That's awesome, man. But what you currently have your own, is it like do you work independently as like a company called DevOps Directive, or is it?
Yeah, so I have an LLC called DevOps Directive, and then I work mostly with startups on a variety of things, usually working with them on their application platforms, which are oftentimes built in Kubernetes, just because that's what I specialize in. But sometimes it is not related to that. Sometimes it's building out CI/CD pipelines for them or other things.
I see. Do you have any do you do any mentorship for junior developers that want to get into more like infrastructure at all, or no?
I haven't done too much. I mean, inside the companies that I work with, I do some mentorship. I haven't done as much outside. That DevOps Office Hours series that I was describing is not really mentorship, but more just like pair programming that can be useful for both the audience and hopefully the guest, in terms of helping them to figure out how to solve and then solving it together, whatever challenge they're working on.
Is it more like a Q&A style, or are you kind of starting this like series as in like you start from somewhere and then you kind of end up?
Yeah, so it's not really Q&A. It's more like they bring some project that they have or are working on or an idea, and then we work on it together.
Okay, that's really cool.
Yeah, so I think I've done 7 or 8 episodes now. One of them is I think I've done 5 of one series where we've done like consecutive, and it's all been on stream. So I try to show it all live versus like going off and figuring out all the configuration off screen and then just like plopping it in and like, wow, look, we're magic.
Yeah.
Instead, we actually have built it out. We've run into a bunch of configuration bugs. We've had to track them down. And we're almost ready to migrate this app from its current implementation onto this Dockerized version that's fully automated with CI/CD and everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. How long are these like series episodes?
Each episode is like between 1 and 2 hours.
Yeah.
Usually. I mean, I think it's going to be an hour, and then it ends up being 2.
I mean, once you start getting into it, especially if you start running into bugs, I'm sure it's just like.
Yeah. Yep.
How do you feel?
I was gonna say as soon as the camera shuts off, all of a sudden the bug shows itself, right? It reveals itself.
How do you feel like the audience is on YouTube for like interest in DevOps and infrastructure and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's pretty niche. I think when I was starting my channel like a year and a half ago, there weren't too many large channels. There's one channel called Tech World with Nana, who has now grown to 250,000 subscribers. And so I think that demonstrates that there is a pretty big audience. Her content is really good. But I don't think there's many other channels over like 25 or 50K in this niche. So yeah, it's interesting. And like the fact that, as you hinted at earlier, like usually at the beginning of your programming journey, you're not that focused on DevOps and infrastructure topics. And so by definition, there's just a lot fewer people looking to learn these things.
Right.
But yeah, I think there's enough that it is worthwhile to do. And the comments that I get on my videos indicate that it's helping people. So, That's awesome. It's definitely worth it.
Yeah. So obviously I'm not prepared to ask you questions, and usually when I bring someone on, I'll have a list of questions to ask, but I got to ask you, how was Coding After 30 and his what kind of questions did he ask you?
Yeah, so we talked mostly about sort of my journey into software and like how I started working with DevOps and how other people could get started in that domain. And I think a good point on that topic is like, I don't think you should start your career in DevOps. Like you probably should start either as a developer or in IT operations and then work your way towards the middle, just because there's so many things that DevOps touches that it's almost intractable to just jump in and try to think that, yes, I can understand both the application development lifecycle and where this stuff is deployed and how it operates. And so having the context of one of those two domains as your base is hugely beneficial once you try to work at the intersection of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same where people are asking me, should I learn how to do data structures and algorithms? But they actually don't really know how to like make a for loop or like, properly, like comfortably use these built-in functions within any language, right? And then it's like, wait, before you learn those, why don't you learn how to like really understand what you're actually typing, right? I get the whole like big companies, they test you on those things, but I think for me, at least on my journey, what really kind of got me to a good spot to where I am now was I spent a lot of time just building, and I built for almost like 5-6 years. And then when I was like preparing for interviews, I didn't have to worry about the building aspect. It was just kind of like, okay, now I have to learn some data structures and algorithms. Like, how do I apply it to like the skills that I already have that I've developed for as long as I did? And maybe even for like DevOps too, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's like, if you don't really even know what an API is, or like you don't know how to build a good API for that matter, or like even caching or any of that stuff, then it's really hard for you to think about DevOps in the same way. And like, you don't even understand what is the point of Dockerizing or anything like that. It just doesn't, it seems like there has to be steps to get to that point. But if you don't even know how to like operate or build out an API. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. I mean, the interesting thing for me transitioning into software was I was writing software in this research engineering position, but they were like control systems that were being deployed onto like embedded systems essentially. And so I had no concept of web development and like what a 3-tier application was and like how we're going to have client, API, database. And so once I got started in that role, there was just like so much learning to do of like, wait, like, how do these pieces even fit together? Yeah, it was a steep learning curve for sure. And the first few months were like so much information just starting to coalesce into some form of knowledge.
That's like story of my life right now. I'm just like, oh, I see. Oh, this is also connected. Oh, you could do this on top. I'm just like, well, I wish I knew this before, but yeah, it's one of those things. But did Paul troll you in any way?
I don't think so. Is he known for trolling?
Well, he trolls me, so
Okay.
my voice is meant for YouTube, which I don't agree with, but.
I think the key is that SM7B you got.
Dude, this is a game changer. Honestly, you have to invest in this. I can't in good conscience recommend anything else. Once you have it, it's just you don't have to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, like I really appreciate the simplicity. I have the Elgato Wave 3 and just like having that USB interface and everything just works. Although I did just see that Elgato released a XLR interface that you could plug the Shure into that gives you access to the same like Elgato software, which is really good for adding in system audio and other sources and doing mixing and stuff.
Nice.
So could be an interesting combo.
Yeah, I wish I knew more about like sound in general, but I think that's the reason why I got this, so I don't have to worry about it as much. Because like at the Adobe level, I was just like just trying to get that reverb, all of that stuff down because my mic wasn't as good. It just got really annoying.
Yeah, I mean, I had a cheap shotgun mic and then a lapel mic, and it was always just battling with this buzzing. I think it was electrical interference with my power adapter or something. And so it was so frustrating that finally when I upgraded to this Elgato Wave 3, it all went away, and it's so good.
Yeah, so I gotta ask you, man, why do you hate mechanical engineering?
I don't hate mechanical engineering.
Why did you transition from mechanical engineering to kind of getting into like software development?
Yeah, I mean the quick answer is just that the software portion of my mechanical engineering role was the part that I was enjoying the most. A slightly longer answer is that I think there's just more opportunity in software engineering to scale your impact. And by that, I mean, you can write code to do something and execute it, not infinite, but close to infinite number of times, versus as a mechanical engineer, if you're a design engineer, you're likely physically moving your mouse to design the part. And there's just a lot of things where your time is connected directly to your output. And I think in software, there's a bit more ability to separate those two things and scale your impact independently of your human output.
Yeah, I think one thing I liked about mechanical engineering was that I got to like learn so many different things, but in some regards, I also didn't get good at anything for me personally, because I just felt like my learning was spread so thin. I guess if I could put it in like software terms, it was just like learning maybe multiple languages, but then on top of multiple languages, like within that one, like if you're learning Python, you start learning like Django and all of that stuff. But then they're like, oh, but like learn materials too while you're at it, and then they're like, oh, learn like all this other things and the thermal. And then I'm like, why do I need to be spread so thin, to so many various different aspects of mechanical engineering, that after I graduated, I felt like it was really hard for me to find a job personally, because there were so many elements of like, what do I actually want to do after I graduated with my degree? Like, do I want to get into like design and like AutoCAD and SolidWorks, or do I want to be a materials engineer, or do I want to? So I mean, I guess the option is nice, but in some regards, it I didn't have like a really strong focus of what I actually enjoyed about it. And maybe my mentality in college was a little off in a sense that I was just trying to get a good grade and then just graduate. But then after I graduated, I was like, oh shoot, what did I actually enjoy about mechanical engineering then?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of chose mechanical engineering as a freshman when I was 18 because I knew I was good at math and science and I liked to build things.
Yep.
And so that was cool. And you get to do some of that. But I think had I known more what comp sci was, I didn't even really know what computer science was when I was 18, I would say. And so had I known, I would have probably double majored or maybe just done comp sci. But yeah, I think a lot of people end up in mechanical engineering because I would almost say it's like the default engineering field. If you are going into engineering, you're probably excited about mechanical systems in the physical world and I don't know, building stuff and tinkering with cars and who knows.
Yeah. Interesting question. Best platform to deploy a small app with a few thousand users?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what those few thousand users are doing. So you could have an app that could run on a single tiny virtual machine and serve 1,000 users, or you could have an app that requires quite a robust platform to deal with. I would probably just build if I was going to build it, I would build a Node.js backend with a React front end just so you can have just JavaScript going on and then shove it into a VM running on pick your favorite cloud and see how far I could make it with that setup. And then if scale started to become an issue, then think about, hey, what do we need to do to have multiple replicas of this application potentially? Can we get away with just putting it onto a larger system, a larger virtual machine, etc.?
Yeah, I think I put it on my Twitter. I made a tweet where I say I follow this mantra of just make it work, make it right, and then make it fast, right? So it's kind of the same concept of if you need to start thinking about scale, like you said, it's a good problem to have, and then we'll pay people like Sid to figure it out for us. But it is true. only the truth is coming out. Hey, I'm really just happy to get back to New York and hang out with my friends and talk about code. I think this is always really fun.
I think it's funny how StreamYard turns some emojis into text.
Virtual hug. I appreciate it. Man. So how have you been networking lately? Are you pretty active on Twitter, or if someone is trying to? I know I get a lot of questions from me asking about like how do I break into tech via LinkedIn, or how do I break into tech on Twitter? I know we've been in similar spaces where individuals have given their like input, but do you have any different ideas or ways to break into tech?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't used to use Twitter at all. Basically, back in February, I decided that Twitter was a useful platform to have. And so my strategy on Twitter is post at least one tweet a day and try to make that tweet either useful or funny. And so I either post something about DevOps and cloud infrastructure that I think people would find helpful, or post some meme, usually still about DevOps and cloud infrastructure, because I'm a one-trick pony. And I mean, growth is slow, but I mean, I did reach 1,000 subscribers or Twitter followers. What do you even call them? Last week. So that's a good milestone.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, it's all about consistency. Like no matter what you do.
Yeah, for sure.
I realized even just my current struggle at my job in some regards. I say struggle, but I'm actually having a really fun time. And I remember you even asking me, it's like, wait, don't you do front end development? I was like, yeah. It's like, what? Do they make all front end developers do this? And I was like, no. They just kind of put it on my lap, and they were like, hey, can you try that? Can you try doing this? And I was like, sure, why not? And it's crazy, like just being able to, when you're able to like dive deep into something and just work on something, you really start to like understand it. So even like with Twitter, and it is maybe a bad comparison, but like I'm sure like you're understanding like, oh, if I post that one tweet a day, you get to kind of see like, oh, is it growing? Is my audience, like, are they, what do they like, what do they don't like, and all of these like stats that even on Twitter Space people were talking about that as well. It's like, oh wow, like all of it is like so metrics driven now. It's just, you could like validate a lot of things based on like what you do, like consistency. Like you could run on a run tracker and then you'll be like, oh, my mileage is improving, or all of that stuff. So I'm really a big fan.
Yeah, for sure. I think there is a lot of just people on Twitter who specifically design everything about their profile for engagement, versus adding value. And so I try to not do that, and actually add value with what I'm talking about. So it's definitely a balance though, of like knowing what will resonate with people, and also trying to make sure that you're not just putting something out that you think will be that you think will resonate.
That's why I'm actually not a huge fan of Twitter, because I don't know. I don't want to say there are like fake people out there or whatever, but sometimes it's tough to discern. And like, like they are putting the effort, and you can't like hate the, like don't hate the player, like hate the game kind of thing. And in Twitter, it's just so much easier to do something like that, right? Like with YouTube, you're gonna have to like edit your videos and like all, like you could create the drama that way. It's just a lot of work. So sometimes you just gotta appreciate the fact that they could build something like that. But I don't know. Yeah.
I think the barrier to entry of the amount of work that it takes to create video content helps to filter out so many people, that there's just less competition on YouTube.
Yeah. And I would say, I mean, in my personal opinion of like there's like definitely like a genuine side of you, right? Like you are a software developer, you do work with a lot of clients. And I mean, as much as we like to say we're like YouTubers or whatever, I think our primary is like our full-time jobs, and then we do the YouTube thing. So there's some element where we're not very good at selling in that regard.
I'm certainly an engineer first, content creator second.
Yeah, sure. Exactly. And in that regards, like our content itself may not be the most engaging, but it still grabs a niche, which I like. Yeah.
Right. We're no Kenny Gundermans.
We're no Kenny Gunderman. No, he's impressive, man. I don't know how but some people are just gifted with like the whole cinematography and all of that stuff.
I mean, I do have the official YouTuber lights going on in my background.
What are you using for that?
It's just a cheap LED, just like LED with a gel in front of it, so I can actually swap out the colors. It's just a white wall.
What? That is sick.
So yeah, I just have like these purple or green or red little sheets.
I just have a light that changes colors, but that doesn't really help me. Let me see if I could get this. Does that help a lot? No, you can't. You can barely see. You see that like hint of green on the side?
Yeah, the key is that I have my camera set to super low ISO or low f-stop, and so my key light is not very bright. And so the relative brightness of the purple is high.
Yeah.
But like I can, if I crank my key light up, and then let's see. And then increase my f-stop. I don't know. I still don't know that much about these cameras and stuff.
Seems like you know more than I do. I have no idea what the hell you Actually, I do. I literally see those f-stops and ISOs and 1 out of 4 from 9. That's... And on that note, Sid, it was really good having you. Perfect timing. No, but honestly, really appreciate it. And let's do an actual formal sharing developer stories episode, because I really feel like you have a really good niche audience, and if anyone that wants to get into AWS and or infrastructure Dockerization. I think that's really important in our industry. I don't think a lot of new developers are aware of it, but I think they should be, because it is definitely a part of software development that's really important. Also, they get paid very well. If you guys didn't know, because it's a very good specialty to have. So, no, really appreciate coming on, and hopefully you stay on the show.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. See ya.
Take care.
What up, guys? What up? What up? What up? I think we're gonna have a second guest. Actually, all right, it's a guest show tonight. So if you guys don't know, I think Don the developer is gonna join us afterwards. But until then, I'm gonna play some lo-fi music because that's what we do. Does that work? No. Stop screen. Let's see. Share screen. And then play some slow jams. Well, it looks like he's ready to go. So without further ado, let's just send him that invite and see what happens. Yeah, and Sid, thanks for coming on, man. You have so much knowledge, and I really appreciate you just sharing your insight about the whole part of coding that I don't fully understand. But you know, you're a godsend in our YouTube community. Hologram, Nunchuck, how have you been, man? I actually haven't talked to you in a long time. I know I think we are in like similar streams, but we haven't really chatted. How's your coding journey been? So, my name is Alex. I am a software developer. Just killing the dead silence here. Oh, the Don's here. Let's go. Boom.
Yo,
Hey, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I saw Sid's background, really inspired by it. I don't know lighting at all, so I gave it a try and it looks terrible. But Sid, your background looks really cool.
He has a great camera and like whole system. I think he definitely has a good system.
I think he does too.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking, I don't know a whole lot of DevOps developers or anyone interested in DevOps and like channels that are upcoming. So it's kind of cool to discover Sid.
Yeah, you should have him on as well. I don't know if anyone would ever make a DevOps coding bootcamp because it's just way too hard to describe. But yeah.
But maybe, I don't know. That actually sounds like a good idea. Maybe it's not, but
maybe for experienced developers. Yeah.
Ooh, I like that. There was something that popped up, I think, called Formation, that was kind of a supplement to coding boot camps to kind of like get them even further, with a lot of coding boot camps kind of dropping the ball and not really preparing people well enough. I wonder if like there's something that could be released for backend specific people that get out of like a really intense backend coding boot camp and then dive into this DevOps. Do you think that would even help them?
I mean, it's kind of up to you. What are you ultimately trying to do, right? It's like, you just want to get a job, and then and, I just feel it's something that you could learn on the job in some regards, because I don't know. I just can't see someone going like as a professional software developer foregoing pay to learn DevOps to potentially get a job in DevOps. You know what I mean? Like I would like to learn while getting paid.
Yeah,
You know
that's true. That's a really good point. I wonder if it makes more sense just to learn it on the job.
Yeah, maybe. I know some people do like consultation, or like they come in for a 2-week, like they would bring someone like sit in for 2 weeks and then just kind of like a front end masters basically equivalent of something. I think that would be kind of cool too. But Hey, I'm sorry I couldn't join your stream. I was eating I was eating dinner while you're on. I was like, oh shoot, I'd love to be on, but let's definitely sync up next time.
No, you're good. I mean, you just got back. Did you just fly in?
I flew in yesterday night actually, and then I worked today, and then went to the gym. I'm also trying to get myself back into shape. It's really important here. Yeah, I realized that if I don't get out of my room, then I'm just gonna just keep working and coding all the time. So it's like my way of just kind of taking a break and relaxing. Because maybe this is a video topic. It's just like I think we talk about hustle and grind so much, but you got to take those breaks whenever you can. Yeah.
Well, that's what I've always struggled with too, is just not being burned out with software engineering in general. I actually been doing like 2 days on, 3 days, or 1 day off, 3 days on. So like Monday and Tuesday, I do like 10 to 12 hours. Mm-hmm. Wednesday, take off. And then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I do like 10 to 12 hours again, trying to do the business stuff. I feel like it's kind of helping. I don't know if I need that break in the middle of the week.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's for you. It's even tougher because you're kind of, it's your own business, right? No one's like holding your no one's forcing you to do it. But in some regards, like I'm sure one days you're like super motivated, other days you're like, oh, I'm tired.
more often than not, I'm just tired. But
you got some fans, man. Digging the purple. What up, Don?
Oh, thank you. You're just being kind. Your background was so much better. Yeah, it's to meet him.
Doing great. Just getting into back-end development more. I'm feeling it more than the front end. Oh, yeah, that's good, man.
Hello. Yeah, you always have a nice chat. I like kind of just chilling in your live streams.
I tried. I mean, you'll be surprised, man. Even like a couple of months ago, I had like 3 people. And and then I would have one of those 3 people as a guest. So it was literally just like the 4 of us just chatting away.
Well, I mean, first of all, that's amazing. Look how you've grown in like such a short time.
Yeah.
But try doing this on Twitch. When like YouTube, you can kind of grow and it'll sit in the background. But like Twitch, it was just dead until you live stream again. Mm-hmm. Then like you had those same 3 people, and you did that for like 3 months straight until you had 4 people and then 5 people. I'm a big fan of YouTube live stream more than Twitch.
Yeah, I'm like debating now because now that I hit the monetization hours, it doesn't feel like I have to keep maintain those hours anymore, right? How does that work? Like once right? Like once I'm monetized, I don't have to like keep being consistent with those 4,000 hours or whatever.
So at this point, even if you dropped your commitment to YouTube, I don't think you're going to drop below that 4,000.
Exactly.
Like YouTube's just built like that. But even if you did, I feel like they demonetize inactive channels. I don't think you have to worry about that.
Yeah. So I think I was just thinking about it. I was like, I was doing something similar to what you and like Christian are doing, where they have a secondary platform now where they do all the live streaming. It seems like you do like a particular niche of live streaming on Twitch versus YouTube. Like YouTube is like the Friday thing, and then everything else is just Twitch.
Pretty much. Well, because I actually had my YouTube channel for like a year, and I was just dumping all my live coding past broadcasts onto my YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. And it just like, it wasn't growing. I didn't get monetized. No one viewed it. Like not a lot of people cared about it. But then like I started doing the podcast episodes and the traffic picked up, but then I would upload a new past broadcast. You can just transfer it over and the traffic would drop down again. It's like YouTube algorithm gets confused. You can't like have separate types of content. So YouTube, I'm like, all right, you're going to be picky. We'll just do this one piece. I know it's going to help me grow. And then
you can't be creative and experiment.
No. I literally had to delete all my videos for my old type of content just to start picking up.
Yeah. What do you, I mean, like, do you want to talk about your channel a little bit? I know we talked about it last time, but no.
No, you've shouted me out enough. It's all about you right now.
Well, I have a question for you though. I mean, maybe you don't have to answer this, but I'd be curious. Like, would you say that most coding boot camps see your channel in a positive light or more like negative light? Like I'm sure you get a lot of feedback, both positive and negative, but like generally where does that kind of like trend towards?
So I find that I'm actually doing a really good job of being equally critical for all coding bootcamps. Like that's my number one priority, but not all staff members of coding bootcamps see it that way. And some coding bootcamps are a little bit more sensitive to some of the issues that I bring up. And so it depends, in my opinion, I would probably say a small portion get really upset about what I say. A bigger portion kind of get it, but they probably don't want to, I don't know. They're the coding boot camps where I might talk with staff members like down the road on LinkedIn, something like that. But I don't think they would ever do a collaboration because they know how blunt I am, but they kind of get it. And they love that I'm critical of everyone. And then I would say coding boot camps that understand content creation and understand PR and understand, like, even if you're super critical of these coding boot camps, I've still brought like my old coding boot camp, I stopped counting at about like $300,000, $400,000 worth of tuition that I brought them. And I was super critical of them. And so like coding boot camps that recognize any PR is good PR, I think they treat me really, really well and they love it. They don't even care if I'm critical. So I think it's about the coding boot camps that handle PR really well, love it. They don't even care that I'm super critical or like I bring up issues that they don't want people to know. Like it still brings them users and traffic. So
yeah,
it's kind of a mix to say the least.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't think any coding bootcamp is perfect, but at the same time, no one should go in with the expectation that it should be perfect, right? I think every buyer should just be fully aware of what they're getting themselves into. And then, you live with the consequences one way or the other, right? But I think sometimes people might criticize in a way. They're like, oh, like you're trying to look for something that isn't there. But I think everything has something there. You just got to dig deeper, right? And then, I don't know. Some people would say like, are you like starting to get into like journalism? Are you doing some form of journalism and really trying to find something and expose something? It's like, no, we're just asking honest questions that I feel like coding bootcamp is like in this category of similar to like weddings or like similar to I would say similar to like weddings where you don't really know what the price is, like what you're gonna get out of it in some regards. Like how do you value a coding bootcamp, right? And sometimes even with weddings, like how do you value a wedding? Some people are just saying like this is what the price is, and they're like, oh, okay, like totally, I should pay this much for flowers, or I should pay this much for. It's like how do you value like a coding bootcamp that's going to give you one project or two projects? You just kind of hoping for the best, and I don't know. If you don't have any experience in development, like how do you even know if this is going to be a good boot camp or not, right? So I think the interviews are helpful in that regard because you're speaking in like normal English terms and you're not going like, oh yeah, like we focused on this or that or that. It's just like, did you get a job? No. Okay, like why are you struggling?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of coding boot camps try to shape it like, yeah, but we're providing this in value and this in value. But okay, the 95%, attrition rate or job placement rate that you advertise isn't that accurate. Why? Like a lot of developers are complaining because they can't become developers. They can't get jobs. Yeah. Why is that? And like you're speaking on a lot of students' terms, their concerns. And I think like when you're reviewing coding boot camps, every coding boot camp would love to give you a list of criteria that you should evaluate them with by their standards. But ultimately, like the best way to do it really is to like, what do students actually want? What do aspiring developers like? What are their main things that they're scared of with entering that coding boot camp? And sometimes it's not even like calling the coding boot camps out in this form of journalism. Sometimes it's just like, I think it's effective to just bring up something you're concerned about. And maybe I need to get better with this, but like then pull them back. You brought up the concern. Everyone's going to like dig into it and ask more questions. And sometimes it's about just bringing up something that kind of sounds iffy and then pull them back and letting people like, okay, I'm going to talk to advisors. I'm going to ask them questions. Like this does sound kind of fishy. And so sometimes like the effectiveness of those videos are just getting students to ask questions. It's not saying, don't sign up for this coding bootcamp. This coding bootcamp is terrible. These are just the questions you should ask because these are kind of yellow and red flags. Bring it up, see how they respond and handle it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I don't think your videos are any means of saying like, don't go to these coding bootcamps. It's just like, all these platforms that rate coding boot camps have 4.5 or 5 stars.
Yeah.
So what do you like? What is this based on, right? And then we hear stories about how coding boot camps will give you 10% off if you write a raving review. It's like, well, I can't write an honest one. Yeah, it's just that's so tough. Yeah.
It is.
But,
See, I have a video coming up about this, but there's one thing that I really mention, and I discovered that one coding boot camp, I'm not going to call them out, but there's one coding boot camp that illuminated this for me, where they had a strategy of similar to like the App Store, right? Where apps will ask you like, what's your experience like? What do you like about the app? And if you rate it highly, they'll say, oh, please review us on the App Store, right? If you rate it lowly, they'll have this internal survey that they ask you that never goes to the App Store. It never goes public. And so what this coding bootcamp would do is they would say, okay, this is actually part of the system, the curriculum. Go ahead and review this coding bootcamp, or let us know what you think. If it's positive, take it directly to Course Report or some other website. If it's negative, oh my God, we want to hear your feedback. Please fill our internal survey out. We're going to get back to you, and we're going to spread this knowledge to our instructors. And it's like, wait a second. And I've had, people and staff try to justify this to me, and it's complete BS. And so you get practices like that are causing all of these high ratings and these inflated reviews.
So basically they hide all the negative reviews and call that like in feedback. But then when it's positive, it's like, let's just shine. Yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah. I think another one that's really tough is like, hey, our coding bootcamp graduates went to Google, and it's like 1 out of like 1,000 or 2,000.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, is like our majority of people going to Google, or is it just that one person who happened to have a computer science degree and also was like top of their class, but they wanted to get into web development, so they decided to go to a coding bootcamp, right?
Exactly, but it could be you, right?
But it could be you, yeah. And then they just put that on the front page, and I'm just like, and it's really sucks because I think you kind of are in the same boat as me, and you kind of understand because we both went to coding boot camps and we both were able to get jobs, right? So you can't say that the success stories aren't there. It's just not as like prevalent as it seems, or they just think that, oh, if I do this, I'm gonna get a job for sure, right? Yeah, and that's the tough part, the numbers.
I mean, it really is. And the reason, I used to, because I came out of Full Stack Academy, and I was like, I would go to their alumni meetups or like their alumni panels where all the prospect students would be in front and they'd be excited. And I would be excited to talk about Full Stack Academy because I was proud of what it accomplished for me. And I'm like, I was really excited. And then year after year, because I had a mentorship meetup for a long time, and year after year, people would start like coming to the mentorship meetup and be like, I attended, Full Stack Academy. I attended this coding boot camp, and now they're telling us these stats are like a year behind, 2 years behind these placement rates. It's like, and it kept getting worse and worse and worse. And this happened across so many coding boot camps, like the coding boot camp industry. Like there's a reason why a lot of these coding boot camps continue to get bought out by traditional education to back it up with that reputation. Like the problem is the industry itself continues to it feels like they're trying to squeeze out as much profit as possible. Now you get like tons of instructors that really care about the students, and they do, but it's the business side of things that students also need to watch out for, because that will affect the entire quality of it.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the comments. They're just pretty funny. Heads I win, tail you lose. I mean, it's like one of the, it's like, it could be me. Yeah. Like coding bootcamp equals weddings. TechRally 20. Man, I made some weird analogies this stream, but no, I think it's maybe one of the questions I could ask you, and I'd love to hear your opinion, is like, should coding bootcamps guarantee, should they have a job guarantee in like 10 years, right? Like, or is it just going to be a traditional school that just solely teaches you how to code, right?
So
like, are they unfairly evaluated in some regards? Because I know someone's going to say, well, college doesn't guarantee you a job either, and you're paying this much money. Like, why would you go to college then? It's like, well, you get a degree, but I don't know, like how useful is that degree, right? I know the question's a little like multifaceted, but like, should a coding bootcamp have a job guarantee in like even 5 years or 10 years from now?
So I guess think about it this way. A computer science degree is a very long curriculum. And you learn a lot of great things. But a computer science degree never encourages you to lie on your LinkedIn profile and resume saying you were a software engineer at that college that's, this company, right? They're saying you were a student, right? They encourage you to be honest about that. Yet people are still getting jobs with computer science degrees. I think coding boot camps are starting to realize that the market is starting to hire better talent. A lot of these open jobs are coming to mid and senior level positions or really competitive juniors. And so coding boot camps all of a sudden are having to increase their curriculums. They're having to increase the time span so they could teach you more and prepare you more. It's getting more competitive. And so I think offering these job guarantees is going to hurt coding boot camps in the long run. We could argue, the moral of, how they even portray that or advertise it. But ultimately, I think coding boot camps that are advertising job guarantees, it's this superficial fix that's going, like, people are starting to recognize it's BS more and more. And I think what they need to do is start doing a better job of teaching fundamentals, doing a better job of exposing them to real life projects. Like, for example, I think it's Rhythm has an internship experience with a real company. That's a step forward where if coding bootcamps start inching towards that and getting real life experience and expanding the quality of their programs based on just improving the whole quality, they wouldn't have to encourage students to cheat and lie on their resume and promise them things that they can't deliver to try to at least get them to, sign that ISA contract.
Yeah.
Where I think they need to focus on bettering their programs. These 3-month coding boot camps kind of are no longer cutting it. And it's like that. I feel like the successful companies, the successful coding boot camps are ones that will scale, and they might have to charge more for it, but like they need to produce better quality engineers. That's what's going to succeed.
I mean, I think Ted Del Toro says it the best. It's a business, right?
Yeah.
I mean, let me give you an example. When I attended Flatiron School in 2015, the reason why I attended was because there was no overlapping classes. What that means is when a cohort graduates, a next cohort joins right after, but never does a cohort start and then midway another cohort starts. So there was no such thing as this concept of an overlapping class. But right now, that's so normal, right? Like cohort 52 AB team is starting here, and then 1 week later, another cohort starts. Like basically, they're trying their best to just have as many students as possible. But the problem with that is, like, the reason why I joined the coding bootcamp at that time was because I knew that I was going to be a priority from months February to like April, right? Like I knew that the only people that you're looking at is going to be me, and you're going to have a career service team that's dedicated to me. But now, like, even schools like Flatiron, like they just have these things called like career coaches, but they're not actual, like, they're not doing you intros. They're not giving you the intros to companies. They're just kind of like looking at your resume and being like, oh, you need to do this or you need to do that. That's not a good enough job, right? And it's getting to a point where it's like you lose quality in the teachers. Like I always ask, like, if you're gonna join a coding bootcamp, you should know. I would hope that you know who the teacher is gonna be, right? But there's no guarantee that you know who the teacher is gonna be, because like you could have, like, they don't even the coding bootcamp doesn't know who the teacher is gonna be. So how do you say like our instructors are top quality? And then second, it's just too many people, and like maybe it's more profitable that way, and it is a business, and maybe that's the part that we kind of don't fully, like, we want to call them out on that part, like where it's like, can you prioritize what you're actually trying to do versus like the profit part? And it's like, to your point, like, do you just charge more so you can provide the actual dedicated attention, or do you try to say anyone can learn how to code, so we're just gonna like take all these people in, and then hopefully, as long as X amount of people actually graduate and we only tell the success stories, then it's like we're happy dandy, right? So I don't know, it's a tough spot, and I'm glad that I didn't have to go through that. But I know now it's crazy, because right after I graduated, they started doing overlapping classes.
Right after.
Then I knew, I was like, oh, they're growing. They're growing fast. Yeah.
And, you know, like you bring up a good point when they start seeing a lot of money, like this is how coding bootcamps scale. But you think about the pandemic, you know, a lot of things were hurt during the pandemic and a lot of things thrived in the pandemic. And I would argue that coding bootcamp industry thrived quite a bit. I mean, it's what pretty much put all the ads on my, you know, YouTube channel and got me a high CPM. But ultimately, like coding bootcamp started opening it up to the entire country. And if they had the right legal, they would open it up to outside of the country, outside of the United States. And so they started getting all these students and all this money, and they continue to charge the same prices for remote as in person. So like you said, now you have like all these cohorts that are overlapping, and teachers and instructors are kind of overworked. They're trying to keep up with it. So it's like the instructors have good intent, but a lot of these instructors are overworked and they're frustrated because they're not getting the support because, you know, business is prioritizing profit. And like you saw that with a lot of coding boot camps. And now it's fun. It's funny because now a lot of coding boot camps are struggling because now that the pandemic is dying down, jobs are opening up again. Like the market is already oversaturated, already produced like an abundance of software engineers, in my opinion, at a low skill level. It's just like now coding boot camps, I think in the next few years, we're going to start seeing them go out of business. I think that a lot of them didn't scale well. They didn't handle the surplus and profit well. And I think they scaled too fast because they were greedy with all that profit. And they probably thought it was going to last longer. That's why you see these coding boot camps getting bought out more. I think we're going to see that a lot over the next few years.
Yeah, like I don't think there's a oversaturation of mid to senior level developers, but there's definitely an oversaturation of junior developers, and that's just it sucks because you know like you want to give all you need is that one opportunity, but it's like now it just feels kind of like a lotto because as a result of so many coding bootcamps just churning out a bunch of unprepared students. And I think I kind of talk about this in my videos. Like you have to be very active about your like career, like even at your time in coding bootcamp. Like I notice a lot of times, and maybe it's like a personality trait, and some people are more introverted, and you know it is what it is. But in some regards, like I realize now, like with these coding bootcamps, they're not gonna hold your hand because they don't even know who this Alex is gonna be, or they don't know who this Don person is. And you're just like a student that paid. We will promise you what we said we were gonna do, but other than that, like you have to I don't know, like I would love to see what kind of conversations and what kind of pitch they're doing, because in some regards I'm like, you know that I have to be the one that's gonna have to be the active one, and I know that I'm the one that's gonna have to network, right? It's not even like a question that they're gonna be like, oh hey, like Don, you know, you're just a random student number 57. Like we'll like introduce you to this company for no reason, right? It's yeah, it just sucks that because when I was in a coding bootcamp, they told me don't even worry about career like your like applying to jobs. We got this. Like we'll get you there. And that felt so nice because literally I could just focus on coding and that's it. I didn't have to network. And right when I graduated and we did like that project fair, companies came. And then their career service team, because they actually had a team, they also didn't have to like worry about hundreds and hundreds of students or thousands of students. It was just like 35 people, and then they could do intros that way. It was much more intimate, and I mean, it might not make the most money, but it definitely worked, right? Because it was such a small scale. But yeah, I guess profit wins.
Yeah, I guess it does. And I kind of like want to bring a little hope to people too. It's like, what I'm not really saying that because it does feel like a lotto, and it does like in any coding bootcamp that says, like you said, like it feels good to hear from a coding bootcamp that's like, we're going to get you there, you know, like just go with us. We're going to get you there. We're going to get you that job. And it feels good to go with someone that has that amount of confidence because you don't have it. If you're going to a coding bootcamp, you're looking for that support. You might have confidence in other areas, but feels good to hear that. But I think like a message that I'm really trying to hone in on is it's not like you can't get the job, but start reconsidering whether a coding bootcamp is an option. A coding bootcamp that continues to charge all this money is an option. Like anybody that tries to become a developer will eventually become a developer. Yeah. But it might not be worth spending $20,000 when you're not even going to get a position for a year later. Yeah. And maybe it is providing more support for self-taught paths. And like figuring out how to make that work. And I know a lot of coding boot camps are like, no, I don't want that. I want, they're going to want to bring a lot of students in, but maybe it is other YouTubers trying to encourage people to reconsider coding boot camps and us supporting them in a way where they don't need them.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, I think coding bootcamp can be beneficial for certain individuals that, they are very focused. They want to learn. They just don't have that right direction, right? Like for me, in some regards, like the coding bootcamp was perfect for me because I was very, very ultra focused on what my objective was and just like putting in the hours to do it and like allocating the time to do it. Yeah. Like I know myself, if I'm lazy, I'll be lazy and like I won't code. But when I was at the coding bootcamp, every day was like, it's that environment. Maybe sometimes you're paying for that environment. You're paying for that cohort that is around you that's also working just as hard as you. Something about like collectively bringing in people together. And that's kind of why actually, I actually do like the concept of New Camp too, where it's like you don't have to pay an arm and a leg where $15,000, $20,000. Like New Camp, you go in with a cohort of like, well, I forgot how many, like 12 or something like that, and then you pay well below $10,000. I think it's like very, very low amounts of money, and then you just put enough where it hurts, and then you are learning to learn, basically, right? So it's one of those things where it's just kind of like I felt the pressure to do well because of how much I put in, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to see what I can do here. But yeah, I think sometimes with the self-paced route, like since there is no like timeline, there's no actual say like 3 months you're going to be a software developer, like how coding bootcamps they say 3 months or 4 months, so you kind of feel like as you're getting closer there's like a finish line. But with self-paced, you're just like, oh, am I ready, am I not ready, like how do I know when I'm ready? And that's why actually, like for me, I always encourage a lot of my like people that I coach as well, like after your first project, just apply and see what happens, right? Like you never know, like the second project might take you 4 months, and then you start 4 more months after, and you're like, holy crap, I just spent the whole year. Like I could have got a job potentially 4 months ago with that first project, but why did I spend another 4 months by myself, like doing another project? And like, even if you do fail those interviews, at least you get some kind of feedback and just say like, oh, like you're not experienced enough. So you're like, okay, now I know I need to build a second project to get better. Right. So yeah, it's just a lot of stuff that I'm starting to like understand, like how more of like a self-paced route individual should go. And I mean, I'm sure you go through that a lot too with your coaching. Like you notice trends.
Yeah, and it's it's really hard to deliver that experience, because something that coding boot camps always end up doing too is they start learning about the person, right? They start learning about that person's weaknesses and all their bad habits. And like you said, that in person, you get that camaraderie. You also get instructors and TAs noticing how you work with others, noticing how you're learning and what you're struggling with, like the milestones you really are struggling with. And with the self-taught route, I really think the lack of support kind of is the feedback. You can supplement with like meeting a bunch of other developers. You can supplement with like getting coaches and connecting with actual professional software engineers, but you need that feedback, and you need someone willing to like kind of ask you more questions and rather than give you advice. I feel like that's why, like, if you go to meetups, you network and stuff like that, and you meet other aspiring developers, like you can sit there and talk with each other, and you guys can give each other that feedback. Or you can even just like, maybe you are pair programming and you kind of find yourself like stepping all over this other person's toes. You're like, do this. Oh, and like being able to recognize that and kind of step back and allowing them to kind of accomplish these things on their own. Like the best thing that you can do when you connect with people is just try to be self-aware. Try to learn based on other people's reactions. And that, like, you can teach yourself how to interact with other software engineers in that way, but it's a very hard thing to do as well.
Yeah. Like even like free code camp, I think the problem is like, you just need to get a group of people and that'll be consistent, right? Like, in some weird way, it's so easy to form a group, but it's so hard to keep the group going week on week. And so I guess that's what the coding bootcamp, like that's one of the pluses behind it, right? So you have a group of people that are doing it together, and like you're getting that situation that you're describing, and it's just getting that understanding. And but if you're by yourself, you'll never get to experience that. And maybe you could mimic it a little bit through meetups or forming your own like study groups, but it's just, yeah, if someone can actually kind of create that situation for you easily. And does that cost $15,000? Maybe not. Who knows? But actually, yeah, this is a good, quick question from Hologram. Do you guys think ISAs will still be around in the future as a way to pay for boot camps? You want to take that one first?
So it's a really good question. I think I'm starting to see a lot of coding boot camps compare, and I saw this with Tech Elevator because I was doing more research. I actually had a staff member respond, and I was doing more research on Tech Elevator, and I noticed that they compared specifically like their ISAs to other coding boot camps. And everyone likes to hate on Lambda. And of course, Lambda was like the first one they compared to, and it made their ISA look really good. But one thing that I noticed is I'm starting to see this across many other websites, like coding boot camps are starting to compare ISAs. So I do feel like the ISA model is going to be around for a while. I don't know it's going to like how long it's going to be around, but I don't see it going away anytime soon. But I do see students and just developers in general holding these coding boot camps accountable for the contract that the ISA consists of and specific clauses that might screw people over in that ISA. I feel like coding boot camps are going to start that, like people are just holding them accountable. So the ISAs are starting to drop in the maximum amount that you're going to pay. They're starting to drop in like the full duration of like how long you can go without a job until like it triggers. There are going to be different things that are going to make the ISA models more beneficial for students specifically over probably the next few years. I don't know if it's going to be regulated by the different state level. Like California started cracking down. I think New York was another one. You might see different states like really cracking down on them. And if they're no longer profitable, that's when you're going to see coding boot camps drop it. Like ISAs are profitable. I think most coding boot camps will bring them up and seriously consider them because you need an attorney to draft all this. Like ISAs are a really tricky thing. And so if they're not bringing coding boot camps a lot of profit, then you're going to start to see them disappear. So if we get too much accountability over these ISAs, maybe it's needed. But I think it feels like it needs to benefit the coding boot camp a little bit, but it also needs to benefit the student more, not screw them over as much. So there's a balance. I don't know if we're going to extend either way past that balance.
Wow, you kind of nailed it actually. Like, why would a coding bootcamp do an ISA? Is it because it's the goodness of their heart that they want you to become a software developer? Like, we don't make money until you make money. Like you've heard that before. But yeah, ultimately it is like, if it's not profitable, they'll stop doing it, period. Like, that is very true. Oh man. I would say, I mean, I'm on board with you, and like, unfortunately, sometimes I don't read contracts either. But this is the one time where I say read the whole contract. Like it's like no one reads the whole, like no one reads the disclaimer, no one reads the privacy, whatever. But please read the ISA contract, because it's not as like you'll see on the front page of what the ISA is, but that is far from like what the actual content of an ISA actually is. So just I don't want to say ISA. I like, part of me go like, I've said blanket statement like just don't do an ISA if you can afford it, but I don't think ISAs are always a bad option, but you have to know what you're getting yourself into. Like, if I was living in New York City and doing an ISA and making what I was making, like, because I think I was making around like 75,000 my first job in New York City, but that's also like 40 something thousand in Austin, like after all the taxes. So taking 15% of that, while I was paying like 1,400 or something for rent and I had a roommate. My window had no direct sunlight, but imagine that I was getting paid around that much with city tax, state tax, and federal tax, and I get 15% of my income taken. It's just like, what did I just get myself? Like, 75,000 sounds like a lot, but once you start breaking it down, you're like, holy crap, why didn't I read this a little bit more thoroughly, right? If my situation was like I was living with my parents for the next 2 years and like I was making that money in California or something, like yes, I could deal with that because maybe they won't charge me for rent. So that's the money that I would have that's the money that can go into the ISA, right? So you got to be really really smart about it. And I didn't even like when I went to coding bootcamp, these didn't even exist. So I didn't even know what they were until they started popping up, and I was like, oh, this sounds good, but like too good to be true, like in some regards. So um yeah, like just tread carefully and like make sure you know what you're getting yourself into, and like set your expectations a little bit, right? Like if you're living in New York City and you have an ISA, you kind of have to making like 100K at least, in my opinion. Otherwise, like dang, like it's gonna be tough, right? And yeah.
Well, I mean, I mentored this woman in New York that basically had a payment schedule that was very aggressive. And the problem is that, like, when I think back of trying to become a developer, I remember just like I had a dream of being a developer and what that would be like. And I would have my perfect job, wouldn't be burned out, and everything's going to be good. It pays so much. Like I was making, when I decided to become a professional developer, I was making $34,000 in Illinois, and I was barely able. Like I was just paying my bills and not really saving anything extra.
Mm-hmm.
And you get this dream of becoming a developer, and it's so attractive that you don't really sit down and figure out the financials. Like you said, even just like that minimum trigger payment of like 40,000 is really common with ISAs. And like you take that away, like you take 15% away plus all these taxes, like you're probably below poverty at that point. And you don't really consider that. And so, a lot of people will, it's just like, well, let me say this. If you just sit down and plan your financials with that ISA, how much it's really going to cost, go over your expenses, like you are going to be so much better off.
Yeah.
But if you don't, that is such a big surprise that could end up propelling you into just giving up on software engineering altogether and not even getting a job because it's going to trigger the ISA, or trying to wait out that duration. I remember like talking to this woman that I was mentoring, and like we seriously considered like, okay, let's go over every individual piece of your contract. And like, because she didn't realize how aggressive the payment schedule was, she's like, I don't even know I'm going to be able to afford, rent and food. Probably going to have to move back in with parents if they let her. And she's like fighting with her parents. And like, she honestly had nowhere to move after that. I'm like, this is messed up. Like, it sounds good. The ISA sounds really good, but in reality, like, coding bootcamps don't encourage people to really get their financials down, and it ends up biting them in the butt, and it hurts them more than if they just were patient with development and saved up the money and didn't get caught up in that trap. So I like your skepticism with ISAs.
Yeah, and it's just, and I want to be careful about this, but I read an article that says like the ISA, it's targeting people that can't afford it, So in some regards, like it's like sometimes it's masked as a lifeboat, right, to you. But the reality is it's targeting people that can't afford it. So if you can't afford it, generally it's gonna be low income individuals. Maybe they have a lot of credit card debt already. And then if you think about how that can compound while you're not going to be working for those 3 to 6 months potentially, like, because I know like Lambda School is like 6 months, right? And then if you're not working for 6 months and you already had credit card debt, imagine how much more credit card debt you're going to have. So now you have credit card debt and you have to pay an ISA. It's like, holy moly, I would get so much anxiety from that situation, and literally I think I would just have a really hard time just waking up every morning. I'm like, am I living in a dream? Like this is insane to me. Like, what's going on? Like, how do I owe this much money to my credit card companies, and how do I owe this much to my code? I don't want to say lambs, like to a coding school. Like, it's gonna be just everything just compounds, and I was just So that's why every time someone asks, I just say like, look, just read, make sure you know what you're getting yourself into, because like if like maybe after you finish that you're gonna be like kind of very, very living frugally and all that stuff, and you're not living in an expensive city, then that could totally be worth it. but just be careful, just read everything. And yeah, I think that's, anyway, let's switch topics because this is getting a little
Sure.
deep. But a lot of saturated entry devs is a good thing, wouldn't you think? Even if they lack certain skills, it shows that they're serious in the story, especially if they got hired and continue to grow. That's an interesting take. Is he saying that there's a lot of serious junior developers that want to get hired and continue to grow?
So I guess like because the market is so saturated, if you do continue to try to get a job, you are someone that has a lot of self-discipline and persistence. So that can look good. And that's true. If you do, like if you stick with it, that can look very good. And you can share that journey in the interview process as well. I don't think it, I think you can see a positive note to that. Sure. I don't think it really solves the saturation problem or how many people end up giving up because of it. But I guess it does kind of weed out people that might not be ready for a hard developer position.
Yeah.
That might, like, that persistence and that curiosity that drives you is something that's going to drive you to the finish line probably. So it's I think we're probably seeing with this oversaturation, like engineers that do get those jobs, maybe those are the engineers that do end up doing pretty well with their careers.
Right. And even I've noticed the people I've talked to that go above and beyond, just like what the curriculum is providing, are the ones that always succeed. And that's why that's why I always say you should like be more proactive than reactive. Like even the person that I talked to recently, she was saying that she was networking nonstop every day, like talking to recruiters, talking to alumni, because she went to like UT Austin. So she would just see like software engineers that graduated from University of Texas and like apply to those companies and just kind of reach out to them and network and see if she could kind of like jump the line, because obviously networking is the best way to find a job. So did the coding boot camp tell her to do that? Probably not, but she realized that you have to take control of your own career, otherwise like no one's gonna hold your hand for that, right? And yeah, that's the difference between just being like saturated and standing out from all of the saturated developers. And yeah, I don't want. Okay, so he says I was trying to sign up for a boot camp. No, we're not saying don't go to a coding boot camp. That's not. Well, at least that's not what I'm trying to say. I don't want to speak for Don, but for me, it's just really important to just understand and ask those questions. Like, I think it's just so. It's your responsibility as the individual, and as like, would you buy a car without like kind of checking under the hood? Like, what if someone sold you a car and then you turn on and then you pay like 10 grand for it and they're like, all right, here's the keys, and then you like turn it on and then you realize there's no engine or something, right? Like, you gotta like look under the hood and see like, are there some things that are hidden that I'm not aware about? You gotta like dig deep a little bit. So and there are good coding boot camps and there are bad coding boot camps. Like, no coding boot camps are created equal. So like what you're trying to do is find the best one for you. And I think that's really important. Yeah.
And I think the worst thing that you can do, and the most people that give up, are because they have unrealistic expectations of what it takes. And I like 90% of people, I say this over and over, that came to my mentorship meetup, 90% of people would never get developer jobs because they had really unrealistic expectations of how long it was going to take, or that they should have had finances saved up after the coding boot camp a little bit. It's just aligning it's just like preparing yourself to have more financial knowledge, so you aren't in panic mode, you aren't buried in debt. You can make smarter decisions, and you can make better decisions because you have less pressure and focus on what you should be focused on: growing as a software engineer, building. Like, it's really hard to focus on that stuff when you also have to have this financial stress. I think that's like my message specifically.
You nailed it. Like, how can you focus on coding when this like burden of like money you're like you have to is just like, you're just thinking about that, I'm sure. And like, it's already hard enough learning how to code, but if you have all of these distractions in your life, it's just gonna be crazy. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, and you don't have to talk about this if you don't want to, but I'd just be curious, like for your like I mean, do you want to talk about your business a little bit? I don't know if that's still like an incognito mode or whatever, but I know it is I'm pretty sure it's focused around like helping the aspiring developers and all of that stuff. But if you want to save that for another time for like a one-on-one, we could do that as well. If you're still ironing it out.
Oh no, I know exactly what my business is. I figured you were doing as a shout out, so I'm like, you don't have to do that.
Oh no. I'm genuinely curious because I think it's very it's good to. I don't know. It's just good to share and help people, right? If that's what you're trying to do. Like, are you trying to do an ISA or something? Because then
Nope.
no, don't talk about it. No.
Nope, not even close. But I have this form that's not an ISA that I think you're really no. So like it's really interesting because when I started it, I had a completely different vision for my business and how I was going to get money.
Mhm.
And like the most interesting thing about like growing my business as a content creator and coach is like it's something, and it's growing into something that I never thought it would be. I never thought I would be getting this lumps of sum in the areas that I'm getting. I thought like, what did I think a long time? I had no idea. I was just experimenting and I gave myself 2 years. But eventually when I started the podcast, I realized YouTube, the ad revenue, my CPM is so high at like 75, 80, that I could actually get real revenue from ads. Like I only have like 3,000 something subscribers and I'm getting, I'm probably at 5,000, maybe 6,000. I might be getting close to like $1,000 or something like that a month just from like being a really small channel, which it's not enough to be able to pay the bills. But when I realized that, I'm like, okay, well, I want to continue building my business around, this revenue generating venture because I didn't think YouTube was going to be it. And so I realized like content creation itself and ad revenue, that's going to bring a big chunk of it. Like I just get to talk and do these live streams and like create YouTube videos, and I'm getting like a good chunk of my business through ad revenue. That's insane. And then I would even say like a small portion of my ad revenue is through coaching. And I think I get like a dozen people per month that actually sign up. Well, and I love it too. I really do. The coaching is actually fun, but I undersell myself by a lot. So I don't think that's going to be a big portion of my revenue. And I'm not trying to sound arrogant or cocky. I know how much people are willing to pay. And I actually used to have my price way up. But I also did different types of coaching. But I think it's going to be purely like content creation, ad revenue. Another thing like affiliate links. I tried my very first affiliate link. It was Treehouse. And like, that's one program I can strongly recommend. I've used. So I'm like, why not? Let's do an affiliate with them. And my channel is super small and I'm still getting like, I don't know, probably $100 to $200 every month just by including this random link. And I'm like, okay, well, I have so many other pieces of software that I'd recommend. Like what happens if I include like 4 other affiliate links for products that I actually care about? Like I would seriously recommend. Ad revenue from affiliate links is actually pretty strong because when I compare myself to like Chris Sean or someone larger, even Joshua Fluke, I'm like, I'm not going to make any money until I get to their subscriber base. But I think my business is going to be self-sustainable at about 10,000 subscribers. It comes from ad revenue, comes from affiliate marketing. It comes from donations. Like I don't know exactly what my business is going to be, but it's going to be 100% around content creation. And that's it. I don't accept sponsorships really. So I'm really just figuring out what's going to pay me and be able to pay my bills. And then once I hit that sustainability, then I can shift from there. But I think like this first stretch is just figuring out how to get sustainable income. And this is what I found so far.
Yeah. That's awesome. And I guess maybe to kind of know know your North Star, or like why you're doing what you're doing. It's like, why did you quit your job in the first place? Like, what did you want to, like, you say you wanted to start your own business, but and maybe this is like more personal, but it's like, why did you want to start your own business?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. So the why instead of the how. I started a web hosting business when I was 18, a while back, and I loved it. And I remember I remember my mom at the time saying, you can't do this. Like, you need to go to college. You need to get a degree. This is how you're going to make it in life. And I remember I'm like, Mom, I don't need to do this. Like, I'm actually making money from this web hosting thing. And like, I just learned how to code. I built my own website with it and I'm getting actual customers. And I'm like, this is really cool. She's like, this isn't going to turn into anything. And I remember being like, told, she's very old school. She believes in traditional education and she had good intentions behind it. But I remember thinking at 18, like, I want to create things that provide value for people. The web hosting was like, I'm like, all these other web hosts are like scamming these people. They're charging so much. You actually don't, it doesn't cost that much to get partitions and just like divide it up among a server and be able to provide these small businesses that are struggling. And so like, I basically came up with a solution, kind of like what I'm doing with coding boot camps. I came up with a solution. I'm like, you're overcharging. You're just doing it for profit. It's like, let me show you that you don't need to do that. And so this idea of creating something that kind of helped the little guy, I think, has been my North Star. It's been helping people that kind of just didn't have that opportunity or have that didn't really think that opportunity even existed for them because they didn't have like a lot of income. Because I didn't have a lot of money growing up. I was really poor. Like our family was poor when I was growing up. Yeah. And I remember when when I realized money wasn't a huge factor, that I could still be extremely successful. My mindset changed. My projections, like what I thought I could be and like how I could impact the world, that changed. And it just took like a shift in my perspective. It took the right mentors, the right people to be able to shift that in me. And once that shifted, I had like unlimited ambition. And I think my North Star is just about figuring out how to make that switch in people to become self-reliant, give them confidence in what they can do individually. And once that shift happens, now all of a sudden, the amount of impact that they can have in the world, like that opens up. That's, I think, in a general sense, what I'm trying to do with my business.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. Like, I think that's real. First of all, that is that's super amazing because like the struggle of like, I mean, like we have our parents' generation is a little more like old school still with the college and everything like that. And man, I love it because sometimes I don't know, even in the YouTube space, I think sometimes there's like a facade, right? A facade of who this person is versus who they really are, like on camera versus not. And I definitely don't get that from you. And yeah, I think it's ultimately, if you don't know what your North Star is, and I'm not saying you don't, but like if other people don't know what their North Star is, then you could be driven by a lot of different things. And being able to just have that, I would encourage you to just like think about that all the time and like focus on that one as you're like growing your business, right? Because sometimes I know like we can get swayed by like, oh, well, like this is doing well, or like, oh, whatever. But it's, your story is really amazing. And like, I could already see people, man, like they're already saying like, it's going to be an inspiration or desperation for sure. But Don, thanks for sharing your point of view and story. Like this is, like, I don't know if anyone's ever asked you that question, but man, that was a really great answer, dude. Yeah.
Well, that was a good question. No one's ever asked me it.
Yeah, man. It's live chat's getting lit. Getting inspired. Hey, everyone's better be a software developer.
I think so. Yeah. I have a question for you though.
What's up?
So I quit my job. Like I have all this time available, right? Yeah. And so it's easier for me when I didn't have all this stress from the full-time job. So I could dedicate all this time and energy to this. And it's still a lot for me. So I know how much you work at Amazon. You put so many hours in. I know you're hungry and you want to be, as good of a software engineer as you can. And that's your personality. And that's why, your team is lucky to have you. And then you come home and you create these videos and you interact and do these live chats. It's like, how in the world does TechRally like have this amount of time and energy? I'm like, I don't even know if I could do this if I had a full-time job. So like, what is your North Star that allows you to do this on the side and not get completely burned out?
Yeah. Whew, that's a great question. And I got to be careful about how I answer this because in some ways, it's gonna hurt my like my chances at my company. But like I don't know. I think a part of me, I don't want to be. I'm not climb. I am climbing the corporate ladder in some regards, but it's not like my North Star to be the best employee, right? I do a great job because I'm very interested in it and this is what I like to do. But like I'm not competitive in a sense at work where I have to beat out other developers. I like helping people. I like someone messaged me that's a manager was like, "Hey, like can you give us your review of this engineer? Like do you think he should be promoted?" I was like, "Yeah, of course. He's a great guy. Like he does a good job. Like of course I'll do it." Like even though like some people would be like, no, like I've seen him mess up here. I like you're being really like nitpicky about certain things. And like as much as I really enjoy like working at Amazon, like it's not my be all end all kind of thing. It's a job that really puts me in a situation where I can learn a lot and be a contributing member. But I don't know. I've been working since I was like 19 and like or 18, maybe 17 around there. So I've been working for like over a decade now, and it's just like the stress of I don't know. I just like I want to enjoy my life in some regards, and it doesn't have to revolve around the job. So I find a lot of inspiration where I know how hard it is to find a job coming out of like a coding boot camp, and I know how hard it is to even find a job coming out of a computer science degree, right? And what kind of motivates me to do what I do is like if I could help. I've had people message me and like even like I'm sure people have done this to you too. It's like through one-on-one coaching. They're like, I can't believe I'm talking to you. Like, dude, I watch your videos. You're like a really big inspiration. It's like, dang, like being able to help one or two individuals through my videos and just helping multiple people through my videos, it just makes such a big difference. And I think I genuinely just really like helping people. So my North Star of why I'm able to like prioritize this is because it's important to me. And as much as tired as I am, as much as I sometimes don't want to make videos, I would even say like a lot of my videos don't make that much like monetization wise once I saw the stats. But a lot of people have messaged me saying like, hey, this like, are you too old to code? That video has really helped me like put things into perspective and like kind of yeah. I just wish that I had something like this when I was learning how to code. That way I could stay more on path. So yeah, like I would say it's just a priority. Like if it's a priority, then you do it, right? And as tired as I am, I just do it. And I think that's just kind of how I grew up. So um, I think I get conflicted a lot because there's a part of me that loves the engineering side, loves the learning, loves the building, but there's another part of me that also loves the helping people. And as long as my body can hold out and while I'm young I could do it, I'll keep doing it. But who knows what will happen in the next 10 years, right? So or 5 to 10 years, we'll see, or 2 years, I don't know. But yeah, ultimately I feel like my North Star is very similar to yours, and just helping out the little guy, helping out the guy that can't afford it, helping out the guy that doesn't feel confident. It's sometimes like I just feel like a therapist and just say like just giving like confidence to that person, saying like, hey, you are a software developer. It might not be like written on paper, but you've written code, you've built projects. Like don't go into your interview saying what you don't know. Like come into the interview saying what you do know, and all of these little things like just changing their complexion. I could see like just my little advice can completely give them the confidence to say, yeah, I can start looking for jobs. And that's the same, I guess, feeling that I get from like hearing your stories. Like it's a very similar vibe. And the I know I was kind of long-winded with it, but like basically the North Star is help like connecting the gap between learning how to code to getting that job is like kind of my what I'm trying to solve right now.
Yeah, and I think you do a really good job of it. And one thing that I would note is like that realization of I gave this individual this like small piece of advice, and like you recognize like, wow, it like really like turned their perspective around, and it gave them that next piece of motivation to continue moving forward because they're almost there. They're going to get it. They just sometimes need just a little bit of inspiration and a role model, and that's what you are to people. I would so if you keep that as a North Star, as a priority, I think you're going to start recognizing, you probably already have. It's like, it's one thing to grow as a software engineer, to be curious, to learn. Like that's also inside of me as well.
Mm-hmm.
And but the way you're impacting people, it's a different direction. It's a different type of impact that you're having. And one thing I think we underestimate, like just YouTubers in general, because sometimes we try to grow our audience, try to grow our channel, get exposure, and just like, expand as much as we can. But we don't realize, like, sometimes all it takes is like a single sentence that we say, or a message that just clicks with someone. And you don't really know that it impacts them. But like, to you, it's just like, I've said this 1,000 times. To them, it's like they finally heard it in the right way. Now, all of a sudden, they're going to turn their life around. Now, all of a sudden, they're going to put the effort and the energy that, they've had bottled up to do it. But you gave them that North Star. You gave them that encouragement to find it. And now, like, you keep doing this with each individual. And then, like, you don't realize, like, then you boosted them, you built their confidence up, and then they interact with tons of people and they share it. It's like, it's literally spreading the love and positivity and like encouragement and confidence. And then, like, the impact that you have is just huge. It's a very different type of impact. And I think we underestimate, because I know I catch myself, I'm like, man, I've answered this question like 50 times, but
true.
But it
Very
is
true.
it is that, like, one person, like in the one-on-ones, it's like, I'm like, I had the one-on-one, and then 3 months, like, I kind of forget about it. 3 months later, like, I got a job. If it wasn't for you, like, I would have gave up. I was so close. I'm like, oh, wow. I didn't think, like, what I said had an impact. That's awesome. And then, like, they're gonna share that. People that have those positive role models, like, I think it encourages them to also be a positive role model. It teaches them how to be a positive role model. It's like, it does spread like that. It's just like, so the impact that you have on YouTube, I can see you one day, like, really just being really big on YouTube. You're going to have a really large impact. I know you are, but I want to assure you something. Like, I used to think, like, because I used to do this on the side when I was a software engineer, and I'm like, I got to be careful about, like, how much I'm expanding into this. I don't want to let them know that I'm not going to be here for like 5-10 years. And that is a legitimate concern. And I think the best feedback that I ever got from one of my bosses is like, it literally never crossed my mind. Like, you're doing your job, you're doing a damn good job of it. Mm-hmm. But like, whatever you're doing on the side, it's like, it's obviously like making you a better person. Like, people like interacting with you at work and stuff like that. Like, there's little things that you have to be able to do at work, but you don't, I think a lot of companies appreciate that software engineers aren't going to be there for 10-20 years. They just want, when they're there, to have a positive impact on the team, right? To grow it in a way that's going to lead it to a positive direction, especially with a large company like that. So, you doing this, I don't see Amazon saying, man, we're going to lose them, got to replace them, or like anything like that. I honestly think they probably see it as a really positive thing.
Yeah, I mean, it really is, and I really feel like having a YouTube channel has made me a better speaker with a lot of people. But another reason why I started changing my content from like tutorials to like actually giving advice is because, well, I mean, I feel like there was a lot of kind of the story or the mirage of being a software developer a lot of times on YouTube without any actionable items. And I hate videos, or like, not videos, but I hate when I'm trying to do something, when I like need to accomplish something that like doesn't really tell me what I actually need to do, right? It's just kind of telling you I got here. It's like, well, can you tell me how you got here?
Exactly.
And there's just not enough of that kind of content. And I know my content can be dry, but it's intentionally dry, because if you're not going to watch it, then maybe you don't have the energy or the patience to be a software developer. So like, yes, I can make it more entertaining. And like, I know YouTube is kind of on the entertainment side in that regard. And, in some ways I feel like I'm a little like lucky that I work at a company, because sometimes I feel like I don't have to like create my content in a way that it's like just fluff, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't, it keeps me grounded in some regards, where like I don't have to be like So I don't know. I could just make content just for the sake of making content, right? And it's really cool that I hit monetization, but it's not like I'm not gonna be able to buy a house or anything, let alone like maybe I'll get like a Starbucks or something, right?
Sure.
But
Yeah.
you know, I think that really helps me because it just. But the main struggle now I'm going through with YouTube is like what else do I talk about? Now that I gave you all my secrets in some regards, like guys, just get off YouTube and go do some code. You know, go just write some code.
So you are right. Like, do you know who Joshua Fluke is?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Joshua Fluke had mentioned this several times. He's like I've told you guys everything already. I'm just repeating myself. Like, but I'm gonna keep doing it. You know, and Gary Vee even mentioned this as well. He's like, guys, like if you're still watching my content years later, like I'm not doing my job well. Like I'm just repeating this over and over and over. And I'm hoping this content reaches towards new people, but like we're kind of stuck. You hear this with all big YouTubers are kind of stuck just giving the same advice over and over and over, just in a slightly different flavor.
Mm-hmm.
But the way I look at it is sometimes you have to repeat the advice because if you're in a different mood, if you like, let's say you gave advice, you know, in January and like in June, by the time like you've met other content creators and you've grown as a person and as a developer, your advice shifts just a little bit, or you have more to add on to it. You deliver it in a different flavor and you deliver different value, but more importantly, you deliver it in a way that might connect with someone where your old advice wouldn't have. It's almost identical, but you just changed it up a little bit to where like it did flip that switch in that person.
That's a good point because in some way, I mean, I watch a lot of Coding Phase live streams and he talks about more or less the same thing every single time. Like in some regards, like Shopify, like taking ownership of your like life, doing HTML email, like start from somewhere. Don't like try to go for fame. He always makes fun of me. It makes a joke to me, but it's true. Like I didn't become like working at Amazon like right away. I started from like coding bootcamp and then got an agency, you know, just worked my way up. Right. But it's literally the same thing over and over again, but you know, it just hits different depending on the time, depending on the day. And you're right. Like I shouldn't feel like I may be repeating, but maybe, to your point, like if I have a different attitude, different mindset about that recommendation, that's super important too. So I totally agree.
Yeah.
A
lot of deep stuff.
A lot of deep stuff, man. Some of us got to be dragged past the goal.
I like the picture too. It it matches it so perfectly.
Yeah, man. No, dude. I mean, I don't want to. If you're, I know it's a little late on your end as well, but I don't want to. If you need to get out, like definitely really enjoyed you coming on. I feel like we talked about so much good stuff. Holy moly, we need to clip some of this out. I'll send it to you.
No, I hope it does help someone. And I really like, I'm not just throwing fluff when I say your channel gives a lot of really good advice. It does. There's a reason why you're growing. Other channels don't grow as fast, but I think it's one thing I'm realizing too. It's like, I could include drone footage. I could include all of this to like really spice up my videos. I'm a terrible video editor. I could hire a video editor. My lighting I need help with everything about my setup, like everything.
Yeah.
But I think like one thing, people are desperate for substance. They're desperate for meaningful advice. They feel like a lot of it's fluff. They feel like a lot of aspiring developers get delivered all of this superficial information that sounds good, but that doesn't have great actionable advice. It's just they know they're just saying it because they think their viewers want to hear it. And that's the big difference between your stream. That's the big difference between my stream, between like our streams and other channels. So like, it doesn't matter how good your stream looks. Like literally just keep doing you. Whatever you're doing, like people are resonating with. It doesn't matter. Just keep doing you. It's
likewise, man. I mean, there's a reason why I'll admit I watched pretty much like all of your interviews. Like,
wow,
with like all of those like coding bootcamp graduates. It's not because first of all, it's like very informational, but second of all, like it's you're asking, it's not one of those things like, okay, cool, like did all three of you make 100K? Great, like go to this boot camp. And then next video, like, oh, did all of you make 200K? Go to this boot camp. You're asking questions that I would ask, and if I was just like in your shoes, literally I would just be like, oh, okay, like can you explain more about this part? Or like I'm not saying, I'm not calling you out on this, but the way you approach the conversation, I know there you have your critics or whatever, but I've never seen you cross the line in that regard. Like you just say it like it is, but it's not to the point where it's like you're just like straight up attacking. And I think people can see that, like the genuine personality behind the YouTube channel, like mine and yours. And like even someone, I don't know if you've ever met Paul from Coding After 30, but he has the same kind of like belief. He's a no nonsense guy, but he's not going to give you that fluff. It's just straight like, this is what a resume should look like, and this is what all of this. Like, I think the trend is changing for even like coding channels where they really appreciate content that's more actionable and more like what can I gain out of this versus just like, oh cool, this is what a software developer is. Like like that's why I actually don't even have a day in the life video. Like that would technically get me the most content as like a day in the life of an Amazon developer.
Amazon? Oh hell yeah.
But there's a reason why I don't do it. It's just like I don't know. It's just what, like, does that really maybe I will. Maybe I maybe I'll make this video one day and like I'll do it for, but that, like, to me that is strictly for views. And like I'm just kind of like I that's where I get conflicted. Like maybe it's an ends to a mean, like if I get all those viewers and those subscribers, I could give them more information, like, but that, like, when people ask me why I don't make those videos, I'm like, I don't, like, number one, I suck at cinematography, but like two, it's just like,
me too.
Do people care? Like, maybe they do. Well, I don't know. If enough people care about it, I'll make it. But I don't know. I don't know how that would actually help someone find a job, which is what I'm more interested in.
Well, I want to share this real quick. I had a Twitter account with 4,000 followers a while back. And the way I got it was posting free resources and a bunch of happy memes to make people feel good, make aspiring developers feel good. I got tons of traction. And when I started examining what my followers were actually accomplishing, a lot of them had given up on development. A lot of them had moved on. And like, I think there's a sense of these like highly curated videos that people like watch to feel good, and it gives them a dopamine rush. Does not give them anything actionable. And I think like that's why I don't do videos like that as well. It's I could hire a video editor and do something like that, but like a lot of these feel good memes and people that follow that kind of stuff, all they're really doing is they're looking for encouragement because they don't have that self-discipline and that drive and like that really narrow focus yet to get them through to the next day and the next day. And so they follow these and they look at it in the morning, like, try to cheer them up, try to get that energy pumping. And so it's very superficial. It gives them these little rushes, but there's nothing of substance propelling them. So they continue looking at it. And they're good, and they're good little pick-me-ups. But what you deliver is actual substance. It's actual actionable advice that will give them the results that will propel them more than all of these other like feel-good videos and day in the lives. Like what you do is it's a lot more substance, and it will get them the results to propel them way farther than these little things. Yeah,
man, we should definitely do a collab. I feel like I think the problem with us in some regards is scale, right? Like how do we help people at scale, right? And like, I mean, in some regards, in some ways, I'm like pointing to like a course, right? But like a course that matters, like I think that's really important. I that's why I don't really make like coding courses or anything like that, because there's already great people that do it, and like, who am I to? I mean, maybe I'm being like imposter syndrome, but if those people are doing it so well, like I don't need to add on to another course. I think there definitely is a market for us to do something to kind of turn those actionable item videos or tasks into like some kind of like platform or something to be like, hey, did you do this? Hey, did you do that? Like, because ultimately, like, that's kind of what we're doing with our like one-on-ones. Like you like I said, the patterns are there, and like everyone has their like little different like nuances, but the patterns are like there's like, did you like, let me see your resume, let me see your all of that stuff. And I think once you understand that, then you could definitely bridge that gap. But yeah, maybe we'll do a collaboration soon of some sort. If
Yeah, it
you're
could be
interested.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a neat idea. If there's a course that actually provided like real value, and I'd be 100% down for it. But like you, I'm like, should I do another like a coding course? Like, I guess that could kind of boost my business, but like so many other exists right now. It's like, so, but yeah, I think there's that niche of kind of like curating the content into something actionable and like really condensed and structured
Yeah.
into what we're delivering.
Yeah.
I'm definitely open to it if we come up with any good ideas.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually been my idea for the past like year. I just haven't really like put it on like a Notion diagram, but that's the thing that I notice is the gap. And like, hopefully no one steals my idea, like someone's watching a 2-hour 44-minute stream, but it's like that's
They
ultimately
deserve to steal it if they're still here.
they deserve to steal it if that's the. I mean, good luck with that, because honestly, the advice I've heard from other developers is not the greatest anyway. So I'm sure it won't even be the same. So, but no, anyways, Don, it was good to have you on, and like, man, thanks for chilling with me, man. This was such a great conversation. I think a lot of my the people that are on here really appreciated you as well.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. It was fun.
Yeah. I don't know how to kick you out. How do I kick you out?
I think I have a leave studio.
Yeah,
All
remove
right.
from stream. Man, dude, that's such a privilege to have both Sid and Don on my stream. Who would have thought just this? Hey, first of all, thank you to everyone that's on this stream, because I didn't even like plan this. I literally just uploaded the video 5 minutes before I started, and I think I had an average about like 15 to 18 people, and it wasn't just me. I had such great guests, Sid and Don, to just kind of reflect and figure out, why am I building this YouTube channel? Why do I care about this channel? And ultimately, it sounds so cliche, it's about you guys. You guys are the reason why I'm here. But no, it really is. Thank you so much. It's that good dopamine hit. Man, I mean, who is 2-hour 46-minute streaming? Like, if I wasn't having fun with everyone here, I wouldn't be here. Like, it's a Friday night, I want to go out, but I'm hanging out with you guys, so it's really fun. I probably should we try to hit 3 hours here, and then call it a night. Maybe we'll do that. All right, let me do one thing. I'm gonna put on some music, and then we'll call it a night afterwards. Let's see. Give me a break. Give me just a slight break right now. Chrome tab, share audio. All right, guys, we have officially started the wind down session. This means that we are having a countdown, and then we're done. We're done. We almost are hitting 3 hours. So, no, this was a really good conversation. I don't even know what to talk about, but no, it's really good to ask those type of questions, because even for software development, I always ask myself, like, why, as happy as I am with my career and the decisions that I've made, why did I make the decision that I did? Like, why did I quit my job that I was very comfortable in, living in Texas? It was 3 years of semiconductor engineering, but man, boy, did I really, really hate my job, because in some regards I wasn't learning anything. I wasn't happy with what I was doing. But once I discovered coding and literally made a ball go from like here to here on an Android screen, I knew right away. Like, I got my own dopamine hit in some ways. Like, coding, I've been coding for 6 years, and man, it's so much fun. it's so much fun. Like, yes, I do get paid well and all that stuff, and salary is good, and my life is so much better with this new career and all those things. But ultimately, like, what keeps me so consistent with what I do and like why my career just keeps going up is because I really do enjoy coding, and I wanted coding to be my career. And if I was gonna spend like a majority of my time during the day doing something, I'd rather be doing something at least I enjoy. Because imagine how miserable you'll be, like just doing something that you really don't like to do. And that's kind of what my last job was like. And yeah, it's good to reflect sometimes, man. 6 years of coding, holy moly. And yeah, in some days I do wonder, like, can I help more people by doing TechRally full time, or just trying to see how do I scale out and help as many people. But I'm not gonna complain about the situation I'm in. I still love writing code. I still love working on big projects. And yeah, Don asked me this question. It's like, how do you have time to do it? It's just important. It's important to me. It's important to me to be here, talk to you guys. And I'm honestly really glad that I went through that kind of break from YouTube for a bit, because it made me really like miss doing this. And I feel like I have this newfound energy to create more content. And I have a lot of topics that actually I've been brainstorming, which I'm like super excited about. We'll see what happens. I don't know if I'm going to be making 2 videos per week, but I think I'm going to start doing those interviews again. And definitely stay tuned, because I have some pretty cool guests that are lined up. And definitely encourage you to listen to those. We have one life and owe it to ourselves. Amen to that, man. That's so true. Yeah. And like, mad props to you, dude, to doing what you're doing. It's not easy. Not a lot of people like can quit their full, have the courage to do that. And maybe that's maybe I'm in that situation too. But yeah, it's something that I'm not gonna fault anyone for doing it or not doing it. It's just everyone's situation is a little different. But if I am able to kind of do both, if I'm able to do 2 things that I enjoy, then why not, right? You took a break. Yeah, maybe I didn't take a break. Like, I was actually in California for about like 2.5 weeks, but I might have done like a preloaded video before I left. So all I had to do was just all I had to do was edit the video. Yeah, maybe to answer Don's question, maybe I'm just a workaholic. This is all I do. This is all I am. I just like working a lot. No, but I don't know. I definitely made less content, if that makes sense. Did I? Eh, I respect it. But man, yeah, I don't know. I just I think I've always been kind of the type to try to find enjoyment in whatever I like to like tinker with, and sometimes it doesn't feel like work when you're like having fun doing it. Sometimes it really does feel like work when you're doing it. So it's just different time, different day, different experience. Yeah. But yeah, I look a lot of motivational stuff, but I do code every day. Got to code more and show it off to get feedback. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I think as long as you learn from it, that's ultimately the most important thing. And hopefully when you learn from it, you don't make the same mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life as well, and outside of coding, even my own personal life. And I became a better person coming out of it. And I just know that like I'm not going to make those same mistakes again. And for you, yeah, motivation is great, but I would rather say like motivation is temporary. Like, motivation has never gotten me to where I am. Like, yeah, I get like motivated, but I'm only motivated for like certain periods of time. But what really has gotten me success, and I'm not even that successful, but like what has gotten me to just where I am is discipline. Like I just know that I have to do this week. Otherwise, it's gonna hurt my like YouTube stuff or whatever. Or like I know I have to get this done at work. Otherwise, it's gonna like push back deadlines. And it's just like, yeah, does that mean that I have to put more hours in, or does that mean I have to like sleep at like 2 a.m? Yeah, like that's just a sacrifice that you have to make, and that's kind of with discipline. And I'm not about like this like whole hustle culture. It's just, man, you gotta do what you gotta do, right? If it's important to you, you gotta do what you gotta do, and that's just like a statement, period. And then there are days where I just take a rest, right? But if there are those periods, pockets of time where you have to commit to this, then you have to do it, man. Like, or woman, sorry, you have to do it. That's why when I say like you're doing like a coding bootcamp, or if you're committed to coding, you have to like block out all the other noise. You have to really block out other noise. When I was in coding bootcamp, I said no to 2 weddings. I said no to like a few birthday parties. I was literally just like, isolated and just only coding. And I was coding for like 12 hours a day. And I'm not saying you have to code for 12 hours a day every day for the rest of your life. It was just a commitment that I made to myself during those like 3 to 5 months that, hey, if this is truly important to me, then I'm going to at least put the best effort and best foot forward that I can. And if I fail, that's okay. At least I know I tried. And I actually talked to my dad while I was in the car heading to the airport, and he was attending law school, and I made a video about this, and he said he had no regrets. And I was like, why do you have no regrets? And he goes, because I know at least I tried. And I think the biggest regret will come from like, if you don't feel like you put in your best effort, that's where regret kicks in. And like, even with my own coding journey, like if I didn't succeed with the coding bootcamp, I think I would have been okay, because I know that I at least tried, and like maybe this wasn't for me. But if there was any like ounce of like, oh, I went partying every Friday, Saturday night in New York City, and during the weekday I was going out like hanging out with like my friends and going to parties or whatever, then yeah, maybe I didn't deserve to be a software engineer. Maybe it wasn't that important to me. Yeah, that's like my this was supposed to be a wind down, but now look at me getting all riled up about this story. You inspired me. Hey man, thank you. Comment to programming now only when I was referred to be because of your mindset. Hey, I appreciate that. And hopefully that helps, man. I know it's not for everyone. I know this mindset isn't for everyone, but like I'm not a motivational speaker. I just try to let my actions reflect my words, and not the other way around. And that's why, like I think that's why even like someone like Joe and Coding Face talks about me a lot, is because like I'm not someone that just magically got to where I am. I had to grind, I had to hustle. And I don't even talk about this that much, but after my coding bootcamp, I was interning for a little bit, like 1 month, and I was making like $13 an hour after I paid for a $12,000 bootcamp to intern at this company, because I thought I would learn a lot. And I was like, what the heck am I doing here? Not only am I not learning, I was getting paid $13 an hour in a place that charges me city tax, state tax, and federal tax. I was like, what am I doing here? And there were moments where I felt like just like Don, I thought I wanted to give up. I was like, did I make the wrong decision? But yeah, I mean, nothing was easy. Nothing came easy. And like, I hope you guys know, and it takes a little bit of luck, but as long as you know that you put in the right effort, I think that's the most important thing. So that's my 2 cents, and we got 2 minutes left. So if you guys want to ask one last question, I'll do my best to answer it. But other than that, I think we're getting ready to close out soon. But anyway, shout out to all the people still here. Really, thank you. Unfortunately, I can't say your username, but I got you, homie. John, thanks for coming. John Paul. Don, thank you for being a guest. This was really great. No one's going to hand you your needs, wants, and goals. You need to put in the work and go get them yourself. Mic drop. That's so true. It's literally like this. I was just rambling, but basically, this is it, right? This is it, Ted. I don't really have too many strong opinions. I'm not as familiar with it, so I can't comment on it. I wish I knew more about it, but I don't. I've kind of went in the career trajectory of like working as an employee, as a software developer. I worked at an agency before, and that was good for me, just for like learning purposes. But yeah, hopefully, sorry, I don't think I really answered your question, but yeah. Yeah, Ted, thanks for staying on or coming on. It was really good. Thanks for adding your comments too, because I think you added a lot of insight. Yeah. All right, guys, we hit 3 hours. We're done. NPM run start, everybody. And guys, thank you for the stream, and keep coding, developers. Your time will come. That's my thing. And yeah, have a good night. Have a good weekend. Get some rest, chill, relax, and yeah, let me know what projects you guys are working on. I'll see you later. Bye.